Hello, world. Welcome to the Breakout Finder podcast. I'm your host, Nate Liss. You can find me on Twitter at @AnOutrageDew. And with me, as always, is Mr. Ryan Lopes. You can find him on Twitter at StillRyan5. And back with us tonight for, I believe, the second time in the history of this show, Mr. Ray Garvin. You can find him on Twitter at RayGQ. And Ray is rocking the LeBron James Lakers jersey because tonight the Lakers are going to go up 3-1 in the series, one game away from winning yet another world title for LeBron James. Is that not true, Ray?
It's going down, baby. It is going down. GOAT James is about to make it happen tonight, taking down the Heat. That's right. GOAT James, the greatest basketball player to ever walk the face of this earth. Period.
Amen.
Go argue with a brick wall.
Love it. Yeah, absolutely, man. We talked about this pre-show for like 15 minutes, just running down the stats of LeBron, but we completely agree that LeBron is the greatest basketball player of all time. And I've had so many arguments. I'm willing to have more. Come find me on Twitter. I got a lot of free time these days. I will battle anybody, anywhere you want. Ryan, are you a LeBron fan? I mean, it's okay if you like Jordan more, but this is a safe space. You can say your piece.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably search my name and search LeBron and Jordan and see where I stand. I'm definitely a LeBron over anybody kind of guy. So I'm definitely in line with you guys. I just think athletically, LeBron is he's just molded differently. And obviously, that's no shade to guys like Magic and the other greats that kind of came before him. But LeBron is just built like a different dude. That's kind of why, and I'm the same guy that has the Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson over Jerry Rice takes. That's just the kind of guy that I am. I am, you can rattle off the Jerry Rice stats to me all you want, and I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna change my opinion. I'm a big Calvin Johnson, big Randy Moss. I just want the freaks, boys. That's all I want. I want the freaks.
Yeah, it's, very few guys actually come into the league that are billed to be like the greatest of all time, at that level, and actually just pay insane dividends over time. Like people said, hey, LeBron, this guy's going to be one of the best we've ever seen. And like no doubt from the day he showed up at the NBA level, he's just murdered. For all the years he's made it to the finals, for all the titles he's won against incredible odds. This guy's for sure one of the best of all time, and I wish I was a Lakers fan, Ray. I wish I was a LeBron James fan. I don't know what that feels like. I'm from the Portland area, the Northwest here, and it stings. It hurts. So I'm envious of you right now.
Well, I had to live through the Smush Parker days and those teams, Kwame Brown. Yes. So right now, I am not a bandwagon Lakers fan. I was out there firing off Lonzo Ball over everybody takes. I mean, I am through and through Los Angeles Lakers. So it's a good time for me, at least on the NBA side. The football side, not so good as a Dallas Cowboys and now Las Vegas Raiders fan. It's not going well, boys. It is not Raiders. Going well.
Yeah, tough season for both of you guys. Things are great over here, though. I mean, the Northwest, things are shining. But, like LeBron, billed to be great when he came into the league, Joe Mixon, same story, right? They said, hey, Joe Mixon, this guy's got every intangible. He has that offseason track record, which hurt him and dropped him out of that potential first round. Goes to the Bengals. They have this garbage O-line, the wide receiver group that needed a revamp over time. And we've talked about this before with him. But finally, fantasy owners that showed patience, Ray, the guys that were willing to hold on, just a sliver of patience, Joe Mixon paid off for them and delivered for fantasy owners. So can we expect more of this going forward?
I would say yes. Now, I would proceed with a little bit of caution because his next couple of games, he's got Baltimore, Indy, Cleveland should be a good matchup, Tennessee, Pittsburgh, and Washington. But once we get to our fantasy playoffs, he's got Miami in week 13, Dallas, who, Ryan, I think you, me, and Nate can go out there and pull Kareem Hunt, Dearness Johnson, and the Hilliard guy against Dallas right now. It's got them in week 14. But I'd never really understood the panic over Joe Mixon's production, right? Averaging less than 3 yards a carry. But when you look at it, right, 19 carries, 16 carries, 17 carries, and then finally 25 carries, I mean, he was getting the work. He wasn't as involved in the receiving game as we wanted. But the problem was you were never going to be able to sell Joe Mixon for Joe Mixon value. So you had no choice but to ride it out. So has he arrived? Sure. I don't really think he ever left, man. Shit just wasn't breaking right for him. And there are a lot of people who probably feel pretty bad. I mean, I'm seeing James Robinson for Joe Mixon straight up, like 1-for-1. And in Dynasty, that's not a smart play. So I'm still riding with Joe Mixon. He's a talented guy, talented young player. Feels like he's been in the league fucking forever, and he's still only 24 years old, which is insane. So he's here. I mean, he's still going to get to work. So it's good to see him, break out and get off the schneid this past week.
I'm so happy that we're talking about a Joe Mixon running back won literally 42 fantasy points, the best running back last week. The week after our guy Nick Ercolano came on the show and told Nate and I that he was fed up. He threw his hands in the air and said, "Boys, I got rid of Joe Mixon." Now, in Nick Liss's defense, he did get Christian McCaffrey back in the hall and some other pieces here and there. But Nate and I both kind of, sat back in our chairs and kind of, we listened to Nick lay out the case here. And both of us, I think, found ourselves on the Mixon side of things. Obviously, getting McCaffrey was, an interesting proposition for Mr. Ercolano. But to Ray's point, obviously the actual opportunity for him has gone up each week, 19, 16, 17, finally 25 carries to go along with that. 2 receptions, 4 receptions, 3 receptions. Now that last week coming off a 6 reception game, 6 targets as well. So this is everything is finally trending up. Now, I sat back after the game, and obviously the issue in Cincinnati still, I would imagine, is going to be offensive line play. Just how well can they hold that unit together? How well can they get things done up front? But again, if the volume is going to keep coming Mixon's way, especially through the air, target-wise, I see pads the floor nicely for us. And again, as Ray kind of alluded to, and as Nate and I have talked about, what feels like every single episode is the talent. With someone like Mixon, the talent really should have never been in question. It just was, things not breaking right, the offensive line play, Burrow kind of getting adjusted, Zach Taylor kind of finding his groove on the headset. So again, Mixon, easy hold for me. I will say in season long, after coming off this game, I did float out some pretty funny trade offers, seeing if anyone was trying to bite. Didn't get much back, but again, Mixon in Dynasty, man, just a smash for me still, and someone that I covet highly for sure.
What's shocking about Joe Mixon is the guy has played 48 career NFL games, and he has scored a touchdown in 15 of them. So think about that for a second. When you're going out there rolling out Joe Mixon, I realize over the last 3 years, Joe Mixon has averaged no less than 19.6 touches a game, which we love. I mean, that is starter production. That's fantasy viable production. But the guy has scored a touchdown in basically 1/3 of the games that he has played in, and he's only had a multi-touchdown game, a handful of times in his career ever. So I would call this an outlier performance when we're looking at it overall. Again, 15 games with touchdowns, over 48 total. That's what scares me because the volume's been there. The touchdowns have really never come. And of course, the receiving production is also what has not been there. But he completely phased out Gio Bernard. I mean, Ray, is there any chance that Gio comes back? Is that what we should caution ourselves over?
Next week, Gio's going to have 9 targets, right? It's definitely going to happen. You would think that this was the perfect situation for Joe Mixon. Jacksonville's defense is not very good. Everything broke right for him this game. I don't think we should really worry about Gio, but I mean the schedule does get tough. The schedule does get a little more difficult. But what I tell myself, guys, this is what I tell people who ask me things and I actually respond is, if you bench Joe Mixon, can you live with him going off on your bench? And if you can't live with that, then you're probably going to end up playing him, right? There's some players you're like, fuck it. If they're on the bench and they go for 50, then damn it, whatever. But Mixon is one of those guys. If you have him, you're probably going to have to roll him out there because you drafted him back into the first, early second round. You really, unless you hit a waiver wire gem, you're probably going to have to roll Joe Mixon out there. But the talent is there, man. That I'm hoping Zach Taylor's figured it out. And look, figured it out with T. Higgins. It's happening for T. Higgins. So maybe this is the new evolution of the Bengals.
God, we can only hope, Ray. And you're hoping evolution takes place in a lot of places. I mean, what about the Eagles? What about Carson Wentz? I mean, Is Carson Wentz going to be, I know Ryan and I have talked about this, is Wentz going to be the starter through the whole season? Is it possible that we see the backup quarterback that everybody wants to see?
Listen, guys. I am not going to turn this into a presidential debate. We're not going to get political here on the Breakout Finder. But President Trump said something a couple of days ago, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. He said bad things happen in Philadelphia. He said
I did not know where you're gonna weave this one.
He said bad things happen in Philadelphia, and they are happening. Now I know they got the win versus the Nick Mullen-led San Francisco 49ers, but Carson Wentz, W-I-N-C-E, is bad. He's not playing well at all. Do I think he will lose his job? No. I think outside of an injury, there's no way that Peterson is going to pull him. It's just not going to happen. Should he continue to play this way? Should he deserve to sit his ass on the bench? Probably, because he is really holding everybody on that offense back. And I get it. I give him some sort of built-in excuse, right? They've lost, I believe, 4 of 5 starting offensive linemen, and Lane Johnson is out there hobbled in and out of the game. Peters is washed and old and hurt. They lost Brooks. It's the line is not good, but he's not playing well either. He's not playing well either. So will he lose his job? To answer your question, will he lose his job to Jalen Hurts? I doubt that outside of an injury, but he does not look like the same quarterback that was an MVP candidate a couple of years ago. I don't know what's going on with him. And in every kind of, NFL analyst that analyze, like, watches quarterbacks and knows how they perform, they say his mechanics are all off. He just doesn't look like the same guy. So it's not good for Mr. Wentz in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and I think I'm glad you brought up the offensive line, because I'm sure that's what the Philly diehards and Wentz fantasy owners alike will obviously bring up first, and that's a fair point. No quarterback can really suffer under that completely decimated and mid-season rebuilt offensive line. So I get it. Also, on the other hand, kind of trying to play devil's advocate a little bit here is Deshaun Jackson's not in the lineup. Alshon Jeffrey's still waiting for the foot. Your guy, man, Jalen Reagor's not out there either. So all these things, I suppose, add up. But again, going to what Ray kind of hit on towards the end there is just, you look at him as just a quarterback, and whether it's mechanically, decision making, whatever it might be, things just haven't clicked. And so I guess the question really is if you don't think he's a good player, I guess how much are you putting on kind of his environment, his situation, what has transpired, the offensive line, the weapons, supporting cast, whatever it is. Or maybe you just weren't a fan of him as a prospect, and you thought that kind of that rise to notoriety was a little bit, I guess, premature, whatever the case may be. The injuries have added up, whatever it was. But there's definitely, I think, arguments on both sides here. I don't have necessarily a hot or a cold take either way. I guess I would like to see what happens when they get, Miles Sanders firing all cylinders. They get, an older Deshaun Jackson back in the lineup. He can still, affect things deep, and Reagor as well. These were players that they were counting on. They just don't have them. But Nate, I imagine you might feel a little more strongly than I do about my very lukewarm Carson Wentz take.
I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't own Carson Wentz really in any leagues, as Ray brought up. I was a fan of him a couple years ago when Carson Wentz was, in 2017. This is now 3-4 years ago. I mean, we're far removed from the days when he was an MVP candidate player. Again, he was a low interception passer, somewhat accurate over time here. But what we've seen from him this year, and again, look at who's starting. Wasn't Travis Fulgham? Did he start in this game? Wasn't he getting like third highest snaps at the wide receiver position for this team?
Yeah,
they are absolutely decimated. I mean, there is no worse crew of wide receivers at this point than what you've got going on in Philly. And if I owned him in Dynasty, I would be pretty scared to start him at this point, which brings up the next question, Ray. Is there any reason to have fear in starting Miles Sanders if this is the production you're getting from his quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I mean, his touches have gone down the 3 games that he's been back, 2018, 13, 7 targets, 8 targets, 4 targets. It's concerning. And, I don't own Carson Wentz in any dynasty league, and I'm in a lot of them. I do have him in Scott Fishbowl, and it's absolutely killing me right now. But I don't want to. My take on Carson Wentz right now, this bashing of Carson Wentz is strictly this season right now. And I do believe that this season it is hard to thrive when your best receiver was a collegiate quarterback, Greg Ward, when you're starting Fulgham, when Arcega-Whiteside, I don't waste a draft pick there. Goddard is hurt. I mean, everybody is hurt. And unless those guys, I really think this is just, it's probably a wash season. I mean, the division is bad. They're not a good football team on the offensive side of the ball. And, Rager looked really good through training camp. Everybody was excited for him. He gets hurt making tackles in practice and then breaks his damn thumb or whatever happened. I mean, it just may be a wash season. D-Jax is old. Jeffrey is washed. This may be you may just have to chop this one up and then we'll really be able to. But to your point, Nate, I think next year is make or break for Carson Wentz regardless, right? It's this season, I think he gets a pass, but next season, because he struggled towards the end of last season. So if he pulls this shit in 2021, it might be a wrap for him in Philly.
And we had, again, going back to last week's episode with the great Nick Ercolano, who we talked about Miles Sanders kind of in the season-long scope. Nick had, he might have had him at, RB 6 or 7 or 8 somewhere. I think I might have had Sanders at 9 or 10 myself, thinking, gosh, I'm well ahead of consensus here. Nick was certainly a bit higher than me on him, so that was kind of where that conversation started. I guess I put this back on the show sheet just given the play that, we had another week of Wentz's play under our belt, but also from a dynasty standpoint. Now, what is the play with Miles Sanders, knowing that you're going into this, we can call it a make or break year for Carson Wentz? Is Sanders an obvious hold? Are you looking to, if you don't own Sanders, are you looking to go out, maybe acquire him on what might be on the cheap now, given Wentz's play, given the status of the Eagles? Ray, do you have a ton of Sanders to begin with? Are you a Sanders believer? I guess we could start there.
I wasn't initially. I'll say that. I was a little bit, I thought he was elevated a little bit coming out of Penn State following Saquon Barkley, right? I think that Saquon hype from Penn State sort of elevated Miles Sanders to a degree. But, towards the back half of his rookie season and what he showed at the end of last season, I started to come around on him. I was not as high as you or Nick, who I respect tremendously, on Sanders. And admittedly, I was still kind of like, I need to see it again. Like, I just need to see a little bit more. But when he's on the field and playing, he looks fantastic. And I actually was able to acquire him a couple of days ago in a deal. So I think he's a hold, man. You don't find those bell cow type running backs that have an ability to catch the ball in space and do damage like that. They just don't grow on trees, right? So he's somebody that I would 100% buy. If things continue to break bad in Philadelphia, he's somebody that I would buy. And if I own him in Dynasty, I wouldn't be trying to sell him. I'd hold him, man. You got to hold a talented young running back like that.
Dude, that's what it comes down to. We make this argument all the time. Again, we just talked about Joe Mixon, right? Now we're talking about a guy that's 23 and a half years old, incredible athlete, has proven that he's got the chops in the passing game. He's got the ability to run. Again, this is a decimated O-line. This is a quarterback whose confidence is shaken. This is a team with no threats on the outside. So defenses are playing this offense way differently than they would if they had the full array of wide receivers on the outside. When you don't have threats, I mean, that changes everything. And people can key in on Miles Sanders and they're just throwing the white flag up. So you're not selling a player that's got talent. And if you are, you're not selling him for cheap. And people are going to come knocking on your door for Miles Sanders because things don't look like they were projected to be in the offseason. But you got to hold him through this. We've seen it with running backs in the past. And again, Joe Mixon is a great example of this. We've seen the up and down opportunity. We've seen the team not play well, but the landscape can change very, very quickly. And like Ray said, get through this year, 2021 comes around, Wentz isn't playing well, suddenly quarterback change, and all of a sudden that combination is electric, and you wish you still have Miles Sanders.
Well, Nate, hold on, because the people need to hear what you just said. And let me reiterate what you just said. I think, and we're talking Dynasty here, let me clarify. In Dynasty, I think so many times people get enamored and fixated on the immediate production. If Joe Mixon isn't producing right now, I got to get rid of him. If think about Derrick Henry a couple of years ago when DeMarco Murray was there. Oh, he's not producing right now, I got to get rid of him. This is dude, talented players like that, you don't just ship them off because contrary to popular belief, not every damn dynasty team you have is a contender, right? So just because they're not producing right now, just because Joe Mixon started off slow, if I'm selling players, right? If I'm going to sell players, I'm not selling the young, talented ones. I'm getting rid of the Raheem Mosterts of the world. I'm getting rid of, that caliber of player. You don't move a Miles Sanders right now in Dynasty. You know what? Sometimes it just isn't your year. And in fantasy, shit can change like that. You can go from I've seen it, teams finishing dead last, winning a fantasy title the next season. So I just relax, people. You don't do stupid stuff like that, please.
Yeah, we had Russell Clay on the show a few weeks back, and I feel like every week since, we've had these fantastic guests, and everyone is preaching, with the exception of Nick here selling Joe Mixon, man. But no, in all seriousness, everyone is preaching just patience, man. And Dynasty, and again, as Nate will tell you better than anyone, as you just hit on, Dynasty, this is the long game here, and you really, you don't want to get caught up in the here and now, as you just said, especially with someone like Sanders, who is probably going to be dipping a little bit, given, again, talked about Wentz, the situation, everything like that. So again, patience, my friends, patience.
100%, man, 100% patience. And I was patient to get to this question because Ray was right. He circled back on a very important point, and I'm glad he did. Ray, tell me this. I spent a big part of the offseason reading tweets that would look like fucking puff pieces of people telling me how Aaron Rodgers was washed. He had nothing left in the tank. The guy's mechanics had gone to shit. He was going to have a bad fantasy season. People are going to overdraft him. He wants out of Green Bay. They drafted a quarterback behind him. He has no weapons. That's true. And then you look at what he's done this year, and he looks like he's having like a Drew Brees level season. Over 70% completion percentage, over 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns, no interceptions. Ray, did people miss the boat, and which boat were you on?
Rodgers is great, man.
Awesome.
I know people may not like his personality, his arrogance, whatever. That dude's toying with defenses. If you watched that game last night, he's who were those? Who the hell were those receivers? Like literally,
it was you, me, and Nate out there.
It could have been. It could have been. And admittedly, I don't know why I'm so high on Allen Lazard. I fucking love Allen Lazard, but he's still a nobody, right? It's what Aaron Rodgers is doing right now and how he's doing it. He's got to be up there with Russ as MVP candidate. He's got to be up there. He's phenomenal. He is phenomenal. He is. I can't. There's no deep analysis here. He's fucking great. He's a ridiculous quarterback, and what he's doing with those wide receivers, the fact that they told Devontae Adams, like, we got this, you just chill, right now we got a bye week coming up, you just chill, we'll handle this with Malik, Turner, Taylor, and whoever else was out there. It's ridiculous, man, and I don't believe that I was on any side of the boat. I didn't think he was washed. But I did not see this kind of happening. I really thought it was just going to be ground and pound. I thought they were going to turn him into like a game manager, and he's just slinging the rock all over the field.
You pull up his playerprofiler.com page, man, and the mugshot that the player profile team picked, man, it's him with this smirk on his face, and he's just looking like all you dumb bitches. You know what I mean? It just makes me so happy. Pulling up this page and going back to Nate's point, man, number 2 in red zone attempts, number 1 in deep ball attempts. The dude is just spraying it all over the field, and he's playing really, really good ball. Finished as QB2 week 1, QB15, QB6, and coming off a QB3 week. So the guy is just dealing. We'll look back and say, obviously, New Orleans has been banged up. Atlanta's not a good defense. Minnesota here, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, to Nate's point, as he kind of led in with, the offseason talk was all about just forget about Aaron Rodgers, and it's anything but. And I will give a shout out to my guy Jake Rickrow, man, at Clutch Fantasy. Jake was all over it, man, and the dude's timeline gets messy as hell at some points. He is out here doing battle with many foes, and he was adamant that Aaron Rodgers should not be left for dead. So shout out my boy Jake. Man, it's just it's fun as hell to see Rodgers out there because, again, I think, as Ray kind of hit on, you either love him or hate him from a pure personality standpoint. He either comes off as a dick, you can't stand him, or you just just love the way he just goes about his business and just gets shit done. And he was QB 13 for me, which kind of looks egregious through four weeks now coming into the season. But I don't think I was too high, too low on him. I will say I certainly baked in and probably overreacted to just how bad I thought that draft class was, whatever they were trying to do with the fullback, tight end, the quarterback early. I mean, I just thought it was the messiest, sloppiest approach to a draft ever. And I parlayed that into Rodgers ranking, which obviously very, very bad process, poor approach. QB 13 is where I ended up with them, and he's certainly outplaying that. So I'm excited to see Rodgers just keep dusting opponents, and hopefully he comes out with some slick shit towards the end of the year about, this picture that he has up here, man, just all you bitches, you know what I mean? Just all you guys were wrong.
All I can say to Ray's point about the ground and pound, I got to put on my binoculars and zoom in. Where's A.J. Dillon? Didn't they take him in the second round? I don't see him anywhere.
That's the draft class, man. Draft class was
Can't
weird.
Find him anywhere in there. Why'd they do that?
What was the A.J. Dillon stinks.
What was the plan?
He stinks. He stinks. He really does stink. He's not a good. He's not good. He's not a good running back.
Plan?
And I know, he hadn't even played. How can you say that? Because I watched him at fucking Boston College for 3.5 years. He's not good. So ridiculous pick. Hosea DeGuara was even a more egregious pick. And then Jordan. Yeah, isn't
that crazy?
That's when you really
Stinky
think
class.
about that. Like, think about what they could have had to help Aaron Rodgers out. Offensive line, defense, a receiver. It's wild, man, and he's still making it happen. So props to him, man.
It's crazy. And if you look over at Football Outsiders, great website, awesome numbers over here. They currently have Green Bay ranked number 4 in pass protection, which doesn't seem so surprising based on what Aaron Rodgers has been able to do with guys that I didn't even know could run routes or knew the routes. I thought I was going to get a call to go out there and play, but they haven't called me yet. Which leads to the next one. We talk about him like it feels like every week. Aaron Jones, still without contract, balling out of his mind as usual. Ray, when is Green Bay going to pay this guy? And we got to put more respect on his name.
Got to, man. They better pay him. I mean, when I'm thinking, all right, boys, when I'm thinking dynasty RBs, what RBs would you want over Aaron Jones? And I've got a short list, all right? I've got Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, of course, Dalvin Cook, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Zeke Elliott. That's that in the list for me. And and to be honest, if we're going off of play this season, like this year, I don't even know if I'd want Zeke over Aaron Jones right now. The way they're playing, Dallas's offensive line is in shambles. Zeke really, like, if we're being real, boys, he ain't looked the same since he was training in Cabo. Like, I know he gets the volume and he gets the work, but he's not catching a ton of passes. I think he's a little more involved in the game because they're playing catch up. But Aaron Jones he's an elite running back, and to see him consistently ranked outside of the top 12, I think it's egregious. He's 25 years old. He's catching the ball. He's running between the tackles. he's bursty. We've been waiting for this to happen for years, and it's happening. And they better pay the man. They better pay the man, because in Dynasty, I'll tell you this, and I was a big fan of JT. I would want Aaron Jones over Jonathan Taylor. I'll tell you that right now. It may be hot to some people.
I love that.
But give me Aaron Jones over Jonathan Taylor. Derrick Henry, I'm a big time Derrick Henry truther. Give me Aaron Jones over Derrick Henry. Give me him over Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders. I mean, he's legit. He's a legit running back in the NFL. So we got to put some respect on Aaron Jones's name.
And I of course added this question to the show sheet. I found myself taking it away because I feel, as I sat back down, I was like, man, I somehow managed to get an Aaron Jones question on the show sheet every single week. I love the guy. I really do. And someone that I'm constantly higher on than what feels like consensus. And I'm, Ray summed it up perfectly, man. And Nate and I talked about it probably a couple weeks back, and every fucking week since we talk about Aaron Jones, I always bring up Aaron Jones. But I guess for dynasty owners, someone that's looking to hold, to buy, whatever it is, the asterisk, I guess, with Aaron Jones is simply contract status. Is Green Bay going to commit to him? And to Ray's point, he's certainly young enough, and you watch him play on Sundays, the talent should in no way, shape, or form be in question. It was always, last year the kind of qualms were just usage, and Green Bay was content on just splitting work and 3 backs. And oh God, now they drafted AJ Dillon. But as Ray so eloquently put it, AJ Dillon probably is just a guy. We don't have to worry about AJ Dillon. The thing with Aaron Jones, athletically, all that stuff aside, like just his ability as a pure pass catcher, just what he offers in the pass game. He had a beautiful, might have been a wheel route last Sunday where you're just down the sideline, man. Week before that, with a one-handed grab, I mean, just the guy is so clean, so confident as a pass catcher. And we've talked about it for years now. This is what you want your running backs to do. You want those hands, you want that floor, and in turn, which raises that ceiling. So Aaron Jones, man, I'd be interested to hear Nate's list as far as who you're taking over Aaron Jones dynasty-wise. I think I'm right there more or less with Ray's list, but I think Aaron Jones could be a bit of a hot button topic because he doesn't have the contract, doesn't have the security, especially talking about guys like Kamara and Cook that are coming off these brand new paydays. Is Aaron Jones far behind, Nate? Or are you comfortable in that RB 6, 5, 6, 7 range? Higher, lower, higher, much higher?
Let me say this. The 2 guys that I expect to get paid with the teams that they're on, I still believe this. I believe Chris Carson's getting re-signed in Seattle. And I believe that we are going to see Aaron Jones get re-signed by Green Bay because it's the only smart thing to do. Look how they're using A.J. Dillon. They have to re-sign Aaron Jones. It makes no sense not to. To Ray's point, though, that's a very short list of people that at this point I would prefer over Aaron Jones. I mean, when you look back historically, like the receiving opportunity is one of the biggest factors in translating to the high end, especially PPR. Most people play in PPR. If you're playing in standard leagues, what are you doing? Why are you playing in standard leagues? Well, come on, step your game up to PPR. But in a PPR format, I know there's some guy out there like, man, PPR. But in a PPR format, man, the receptions and the target share is everything. It's what we loved about Clyde Edwards coming into the league, and we're going to get to him in a little bit. But the only people I might even consider over him are pretty much with Ray right there. I mean, we're talking Barkley, we're talking Cook, we're talking Kamara, McCaffrey, obviously. There might be 5, 6 guys maybe, but again, I agree also, like the Ezekiel Elliott thing. And I think, and I've talked about this before, Ray, and feel free to chip in on this. Next year is a year where we could see 17 NFL games in the season. Zeke already gets one of the most robust workloads in the league. He's also one of the highest paid backs in the league. And he's also got besides Cleveland, he has the best backup running back in the league. I think a lot of people would agree on that. There are some other good backs, but Tony Pollard is incredible. And I feel like we could see Zeke start to work or lose a little workload over time next year. And that's concerning me a little bit as well. So that might be the fringe guy. I mean, if Aaron Jones gets re-signed, what is keeping him from essentially jumping Zeke Elliott?
Yeah, and I think, living down here in Texas, I think a lot of people still think about that Dallas. Think about, boys, 2 years ago, Dallas had unquestionably the best offensive line in football with Zach Martin, with Tyron Smith being young. They're in a bad boat cap-wise, and Tyron Smith is wearing a bionic elbow every other week. His back is hurting. He's got a damn neck roll on. I don't know how much longer he's got. La'el Collins is out. Zach Martin is still a stud, but Travis Frederick leaves. Connor Williams is not very good at left guard. That offensive line is not what it used to be. And, I misspoke. Zeke is catching a ton of passes because they are behind, but the work that he's getting on first and second down, rushing the ball, it's kind of Mike McCarthy's MO, right? Just kind of forgets about the running back and wants to sling it all around the field. He just doesn't look the same to me. I think he's a hammer. He's a warrior. But I don't care about any of that shit. I need people to score points in fantasy. All that hammer, warrior stuff is great. I don't think if we did a startup draft right now, if anybody took Zeke over Aaron Jones, it's purely just off of namesake. You don't trust the contract situation. I'm not worried about that. They're going to pay him. I told everybody Derrick Henry was going to get a deal. Like Kamara was going to. These teams aren't. They're dumb, but they're not like dumb, right? Aaron Jones is going to get paid. So I really don't think there are many. And I left Saquon Barkley off of that list. I just kind of forgot about him. But absolutely, Saquon Barkley's still ahead of Aaron Jones on that list.
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting. Especially when you look back at last year, just in general, you look at what Aaron Jones did. And I come back to this every week because somehow Aaron Jones is continuing to actually create more fantasy points per game with a lower opportunity share than he had the year prior. I mean, that's how efficient this guy is. Last year in fantasy football, in a PPR format, he actually goes and outscores Zeke Elliott on what looks like about 70 less touches on the year. I mean, that's how ridiculous this guy is. And last night, there was no other option for Green Bay, right? Like, okay, we've admittedly some guys emerged, but if you're a defense, you're like, look, all we got to do is stop Aaron Jones and it's over. And once again, another defense could not stop Aaron Jones.
Well, Nate, he didn't even play in the third quarter. Like, I feel like there was a point in time where Twitter was like, is he hurt? Like, where's he at? Like, why the hell is Jamal Williams on the field? I mean, that's how efficient this guy is. I mean, just if he had the workload of a Christian McCaffrey or a Saquon Barkley, he's RB 3? Like, if he can get that workload, what he's doing right now, efficiency wise, is insane.
Yeah, if he ever had McCaffrey level workload, he'd be RB1. I mean, that he would be. He would have gone past McCaffrey. So he's that good. It's pretty ridiculous.
I love it. I'm sweating a little bit.
It's pretty ridiculous what he's doing right now. So and I keep talking about this, like, and Ryan mentioned it too, like, the fact that he doesn't have a contract is the only reason that this dude is slightly undervalued. Like, you're totally right that he's in that 5, 6, 7 range. The minute this guy signs a fucking 6-year, $81 million contract, it's over. He's going to jump Zeke. There's going to be a conversation about Dalvin Cook. There's going to be suddenly it's going to happen. And I keep telling people, just pony up now. Just spend the bucks on Aaron Jones. Like, when that contract's in hand, this dude it's fucking over. You will not get him. And this is your one chance. That contract is the only little string that's keeping this puppet from just breaking free and walking the fuck off stage. So you gotta go get him, man. You gotta get him.
Yes.
Ray, okay. Ray, I may not know what's going on anymore. Will you tell me what is up with this tight end in Green Bay? Please explain to me who this guy is.
Listen, I am not going to act like I just was on Robert Tonyan for years.
Yeah, but anyone who says that is legit lying.
They're lying. Dude. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. But when I did see that he was like living with Kittle and working out with them, and then I saw his picture, he's a good looking dude, man.
That matters, bro. We talk about that. That matters.
Man. You look good, you play good. He's a good looking dude. I mean, jawline is chiseled. He looks good. But the minute I heard that, I told some folks, man, some of my patrons, patreon.com/allcast, I said, go get Tonyan. Go get him, man. They're talking about. Here's the thing. Coach speak is kind of like, that's coaches just say shit, right? Over the summer months, my strategy, dude, listen to the beat reporters are pretty tuned in, man. Like, they're there with those guys. They're around the practices. And I know this season was a little weird with it being virtual, but everything coming out of Green Bay was like, this dude's going to be the starting tight end. Like, he's going to be the starting tight end. And what we know about Aaron Rodgers is if he likes you, and that dude was smiling. Like, I thought him and Tonyan were going to make out. I thought they were going to tongue kiss on national television. He's a good looking dude. I mean, but as soon as Rodgers like trusts you, he's just going to funnel targets your way. And you can tell they were toying with him. So I went and looked up who the hell this Tonyan was. And coming into college, he was a damn quarterback at Indiana State, Illinois State.
Yeah.
But then check this out. He played wide receiver. 54 receptions, 774 yards, and 4 touchdowns as a sophomore. First season playing college wide receiver. Junior season, 40 for 601 and 6. Senior season, 56, 699 and 10. Career receptions, only playing wide receiver for 3 years, 150 catches, 2,047 yards, and 20 TDs. Then you go look at his workout metrics, and ridiculous on Player Profiler. I mean, athlete is just, that's putting it kindly. Yeah. And when he's out there, man, he looks good. I acquired time. I have him in, I played a lot of dynasty leagues. I have him in like 4 or 5 leagues. I went out and got him in like 3 leagues today. Like, I was just like, I want this guy. And I know he's a little older, 26 years old. Next season, he'll be 27. But tight ends, man, they tend to stick around for a little bit, right? As long as he stays on Rodgers' good side. I mean, Lazard is out. Lazard is going to be out for quite some time. Adams will probably be back after the bye. It might be Tonyan and Adams. That may be the passing game right there. Devontae Adams would only help Tonyan underneath. I'm kind of buying into him, man. I'm kind of buying into the kid.
It's again, I had nothing. He was not. He was so far removed from my radar to start the season. Indiana State knew nothing about him, and what. And again, I don't think we're expecting a top 2 finish every single weekend.
He'll never catch 3 touchdown passes ever again.
Exactly, ever. And people, are probably going to overreact to that and sell the farm for whatever it is, but. It is interesting that it's just so, man, fantasy football is so fucking funny, man. This is like the 2020, like, here we go. Bob Tonyan, man, is like, he's the one that's going to be maybe saving rosters coming off the waiver. I mean, every year we talk about how depleted just tight end is in general, and here we go, Rodgers propping up this dude, and it's just working, so I think, if you snagged him luckily off waivers prior, you were ahead of the game, you were smart, and you obviously hopefully parlayed it into a huge week 4, and again, I don't think, to Ray's point, he'll never catch those 3 balls, like those three touchdown balls again, but it could be a score a week given how well Rodgers is playing, and again, given just how decimated the tight end position is in general, you can do a lot worse than Bob Tonyan for sure.
And to be fair, Ray, to your point, when talking about the tight end position, Kelsey, he didn't have a breakout till 25. Kittle didn't break out till 25, 26. Ertz didn't break out till 25. So, we know historically the tight end position takes time to develop. It's what's happening kind of with TJ Hawkinson. I think people really want that to happen faster, and it's just not one of those processes sometimes. So you just got to believe in the talent. But yeah, Tonyan, where the fuck did he come from? This guy came literally out of nowhere, and Aaron Rodgers couldn't be happier about it.
Yeah. And why is it, guys? It's a funny trend in fantasy, dynasty in particular, that we search for the next thing. I feel like every year we're searching for Kittle and Kelsey. Like, I don't know why people are so fascinated with tight ends. Maybe because if you have one of those elite guys, it's such an advantage weekly to have a Kelsey, to have a Kittle. But I'm not going to go that far. People are, he's baby Kittle. I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying is I do believe he is entrenched as the tight end 1 on that team. Aaron Rodgers did seem to have a good rapport with him. And without any legitimate pass catchers opposite Devontae Adams, there should be opportunity there. If he's getting 5 to 6 targets a game, I'll take that as a waiver wire tight end or somebody that you were able to trade for on the low. So I definitely think that there's enough talent there. And with the tight end position, I want athletes, dude. Like, just give me an athletic guy with an opportunity. And according to his metrics on playerprofiler.com, he's got the athleticism to maybe sustain this for a little bit.
And listen, Ray, I mean, it couldn't be better than being tethered to the guy right now that's got 30 red zone attempts, and Aaron Rodgers, number 2 in the league. Even if you're getting 5-6 targets, at least one of them, 2 of those might be red zone shots, and that's all it takes at the tight end position. All right, Ray, here we go. Let's bounce back to rookies for a minute. Let's talk about Cam Akers. Reportedly could be back week 5 per Sean McVay. What are the expectations? This guy has suddenly become a dynasty buy. I mean, with Darrell Henderson's emergence and the tough start kind of at the beginning of the year. But this is a back that proved all the way through college that he was better than the sum of the worst offensive lines in front of him. What's the expectation going forward for Cam Akers, and should people be investing in him if they can get a hold of him?
Absolutely. I think Darrell Henderson's flop last week is the best thing to happen for Cam Akers, right? First of all, I thought that was going to be a shootout. I stacked Rams everywhere. I was playing the over and the more or less thing on Monkey Knife Fight. And I had Darrell Henderson. I mean, I think his prop line was 70 yards. I was like, he's going to smash that in the first quarter. This motherfucker 8 for 22, you know what I mean? 1 target.
Week 4 was weird.
Yeah. I think when Akers comes back, he's the guy. I mean, the week that he got hurt, he dominated the touches in that first quarter, dominated those touches. I believe that when he comes back, he's the guy. Now, are those going to be efficient carries? Are those going to be efficient touches? I don't know. But I definitely think that when he comes back, I think he's going to assume the workload as the primary ball carrier in Los Angeles. I think Henderson had a huge opportunity last week, and he squandered it. I mean, 8 for 22. That ain't cutting it, man, especially coming off of a 100-yard game, 20-carry game. It's just versus Buffalo, he gets 20 carries. Versus the Giants, he gets 8. It's just concerning for me, the massive dip in opportunities for Henderson. And even if he's just more of he's not a feature back to me. He's not. He's a I don't want to call him a satellite plus, but like a backup plus, right? I think he's like a tier below like that Tony Pollard, Alexander Madison range. Cam Akers is going to be the guy when he comes back, and if people are bailing on him because of Malcolm Brown, then go get Cam Akers, please.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add to that is, I'll raise my hand and say I thought the Rams were gonna, due for legit regression, and I think they've certainly exceeded my expectations through the first quarter of the season. McVay is still calling good ball. Goff has been reliable. There are pieces there. I think the prudent move would be to, it was, when he was injured these first few weeks here, to go out and try to scoop him up in season-long leagues, and if you could, kind of make something happen dynasty-wise. I imagine dynasty a bit harder. He was going early in drafts. People probably not ready to cut bait just yet, but certainly in season long, if you were able to kind of, approach a frustrated owner, whatever the case may be, and get him earlier. And now hopefully, to Ray's point, maybe it is his job to kind of run away with at this point, given Henderson's kind of up and down nature. I will also add that it is a bit interesting, just this whole Rams backfield for the past couple seasons. I know obviously they had Gurley last season, but Henderson was an offseason darling himself, and I feel like we've talked about this before. Just to see that kind of roller coaster ride, and I think McVay still tends to bring up Malcolm Brown in his pressers as well. It should surprise nobody when and if, I will say when, Cam Akers is the lead dog here, but something about McVay, just the way he approaches the position, to me doesn't sit necessarily right. I just feel like he's content splitting carries off at this point. So I'm hoping that, Akers gets the door wide open and he just completely shuts it right behind him once he gets the opportunity, assuming he is healthy. Because again, as Ray was kind of hitting on with Henderson, doesn't have that, that bell cow 3 down kind of build, whereas Akers certainly has carried the load before, looks the part. Talent has been there before. We've seen him at Florida State. This whole offseason, he was heavily discussed. So yeah, I'm excited for him. Season long, if you're able to get him, these past couple of weeks, and now, hopefully throw him in your lineup and hope for the dots to connect further.
Man, and yeah, I believe the same thing, man. I think that this is one of the best buy low opportunities we're going to get in a long time for Cam Akers, but I'm not concerned, just like I'm not concerned about Clyde Edwards-Helaire one bit, Ray. You have been a truther of Clyde Edwards. Is that not a fact?
I have been a Clyde Edwards-Helaire truther for a very long time. I was one of the people who thought that early in the 2019 season, I thought he was going to get benched in favor of Debbie Darling, John Emery Jr., and Edwards-Helaire was just like, nope, this is – and real quick, man, because I talked a lot of shit. I talked a lot of shit about LSU being a product of that Joe Brady offense. I think the answer was they just had legit players. Like, those guys were good. Burrow was good. They talked about that last week.
Maybe everyone's just good as hell.
Yeah, I think all those dudes – outside of Thaddeus Moss, all of those dudes were legit. The system made Thad Moss. But back to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I asked this question on Twitter yesterday. I was very careful with how I framed this. He's great. He's a great running back in a great system, and he's going to have probably one of the safest floors. And what's crazy is we haven't even seen like close to a Clyde Edwards-Helaire ceiling game. I don't even think we've seen the breakout yet. I just asked the question, is he for sure a top 3 dynasty running back right now? That I don't know. Who gives a shit if he's 3 or 4, right? What's the big difference? Okay, you have him 3, I have him 4, or he's 3 or 5. The prices that people were paying, I think it was a little cart before I would take Alvin Kamara before Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I'm a huge Clyde Edwards-Helaire fan, but I was seeing people that, they would trade Christian McCaffrey straight up for CEH. I think that was a little crazy, but the panic meter needs to he's safe, man. This probably one of the safest floors you get. And I don't even know what his ceiling is because we haven't seen it. I don't, and we might not see it for a while. My only trepidation for CEH, which I saw a report that they're like starting to install more things in the offense. Like they haven't even broken the ground and what they could really do. Kelsey is the problem, right? Like, it's not Tyreek Hill. It's Kelsey gobbling up all of those intermediate targets where I really thought he would be a lot more active in the receiving game. But Ray and everybody else, it's 4 games into the COVID-led season, dude. Like, re-fucking-lax. He's a stud, and he's showing that he can play with power. All of that bullshit about, those cuts and that lateral agility won't translate to the next level. I can't count how many times he's made people look silly in tight spaces. I think he's Brian Westbrook. Like, that's what he is. He's a better version of Brian Westbrook in a better offense with the same damn coach. So we all need to relax. He's a great young running back, regardless if you have him 2, 3, 4, or 5. He's one of the top 5 young dynasty running backs in the league. And I don't know why people are tripping, but if they are, go buy him.
Ray, now hold up, Ryan. Just before you chime in, I got to ask Ray this question. Because, Ray, I don't know if you can see the scars on my face and the burn marks, the cigarette burn marks that Matt Kelly attempted to continuously put out on me. But we got Jonathan Taylor. We got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You're in a rookie draft. You got the 101. Ray, who were you walking away with? If we're drafting today, who are you walking away with?
I had the 101 in my longest standing dynasty home league.
Dude,
had the pick.
do it, Ray.
Had the pick, and I took Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I took CEH.
Show him the shirt, Nate. Show him the shirt.
It's the
Shout out to Will Harris for that.
Now, admittedly, just as good of a situation that CEH fell into, I thought JT fell into an equally good situation.
Yeah.
But throughout this early portion of the year, I've got a little, I'm not going to say concern, but I do think that I think CEH is the better dynasty asset over JT. Yes, he can catch the ball if they throw it to him, but they're not throwing it to him. And I saw Jordan Wilkins on the field a lot more than I really prefer to. Again, it's early. It's 4 games into his rookie season. I do think, and Kelly agreed with me. I said if the next 2,000-yard rusher we see in the NFL, I believe if we do see that, it's going to be Jonathan Taylor behind that offensive line. But if I had to pick right now, JT or CEH, it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
And I think, and Nate brought it up perfectly because I was going to do the same if he didn't, but I think a lot of Clyde Edwards-Helaire is simply the offseason that we spent just arguing between him and Jonathan Taylor. There was, of course, the questions about whether or not we're going to have football. It felt like the longest, most peculiar offseason for obvious reasons. So I think when someone like Nate and Matt go at it so adamantly head to head, and of course other people certainly shared their opinions, there was a clear divide amongst whether you're on the CEH side of things or you're on the Taylor side of things. For better or for worse, there was that divide when, as Ray kind of maybe alluded to, is for very similar and maybe not so similar reasons, they're both fantastic prospects, great landing spots. We don't have to go back down the checklist again, but I think this is more or less, these overreactions that we saw last night. It's just a product of the fact that these were just too heavily in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, just a heavily debated rookie prospect. Now, week 1 had 2 targets, still managed to finish as a top 10 running back. Last night, coming off a 3-target performance, fell down to RB22, which is where people started to kind of scratch their heads and start wondering, hey, these targets aren't going to follow. Is he going to live up to this hype? Blah, blah, blah. The fact of the matter is, and I agree wholeheartedly with Ray, is that we haven't seen, the Chiefs really turn to Edwards-Helaire yet. The fact of the matter is, rookie season, COVID season, the offense is still going to run through the Kelseys, the Hills. We've seen some other wideouts kind of get in the mix. There was a talk of Hardman here and there, but again, there are so many options in that offense. Shouldn't take away from how you view Edwards-Helaire as a dynasty asset. But again, man, once those targets start coming, boys, he had an 8-target game and a 6-target game already. If he is consistently around that 6-7 target range, it's wheels all the way up.
Ray, let me bring up an Evan Silva quote, because I love being able to talk openly about this. I keep ducking because I feel like Matt Kelly's going to come from out of screen.
He's listening.
And want to go to World War III with me because we've already done this twice. But Evan Silva said it best. He basically talked about the fact that it was an unnecessary selection for the Colts with the offensive line that they have, but regardless, over time, it'll prove to be the right choice, even though it could have been anybody, and they would have been successful. But kind of my contention with it was, when they made this selection, Miami, New England, and Detroit. 3 teams were ahead of them, and you could have argued that all of them needed running backs. They took Michael Pittman before they took Jonathan Taylor, and they rode and waited till all 3 of these teams drafted. And fortunately for them, only DeAndre Swift went before that. It's just interesting to me the way that this has all worked out, where Clyde Edwards-Helaire was absolutely prioritized with the Kansas City Chiefs, and you just know that usage is going up. And that's no knock to Jonathan Taylor, because I think Jonathan Taylor's fantastic, but in fantasy football and PPR, the floor is all about the targets. And that's what I want. I want that target share. And I think a lot of us believe that Clyde Edwards will someday settle into that 60 to 80 targets a year. I don't think that's crazy at all, because I don't think that his rushing volume is ever going to be that of Ezekiel Elliott, right? I mean, he's never going to have this 305 carry season. But if Clyde Edwards is getting 215 carries and 75 targets, then he can easily finish as a top 5 running back in fantasy football. And that's always been the allure. Of course, now you put him with one of the greatest offensive-minded coaches and this offense around him, Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey. The weapons are just sick. Tyreek and Hardman stretching the field. I mean, once they get this figured out, and like you said, in a COVID universe, once we get this all figured out and this team is gelling, I don't know how you stop him. Like, this guy could be so much better than we even are envisioning today.
I don't even think we want him. Wasn't Austin Eckler top 5 running back in PPR? And I think he had 100 below 170 carries. I think it was something like that. I don't even think you want him utilized in that way. And here's the thing, and patience, once again, patience. Kansas City did not need Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He was a 100% luxury pick for them at the back half of the first round after winning the Super Bowl. So just be patient, guys. I mean, there's so many pieces in that offense, and they're winning, man. Like, yes, there's some weeks where we may get burned in fantasy, but here's the thing that we never have to worry. I don't think we'll ever have to worry about him just shitting the bed completely and walking away with 2 fantasy points, with 3 fantasy points. He's always going to be involved in that offense. And all it takes is one dead leg in the open field for him to house call that bad boy. So I just think sometimes, man, what I've told people is the fantasy gods that be, just things just align, man, and you just accept it and you take it, and that's what Clyde Edwards-Helaire is. It just, all the stars aligned for him. He's in the perfect situation with the perfect coach, with the perfect offense, and he's actually a really talented running back. Man, chill out, man.
Yeah, it's wide open. I'm a huge fan. Sounds like you're a huge fan. Got this great Clyde Edwards-Helaire t-shirt on. I mean, it fits comfortably. We're rolling, man. You got the LeBron jersey. I got the Clyde Edwards 2 goats, man. So listen, now we're transitioning to New England. It's cold as fuck over there. I don't know because I don't live there. Sony Michel goes to IR after having the best game we've seen from him in quite some time. 9 carries, 117 yards. What? How'd that happen? And then here comes Damien Harris. Is it wheels up for Damien Harris? I mean, is it his backfield now and going forward? What's the deal here, Ray?
All right, boys. I think we've had a love fest long enough. Don't
do it to me. Don't do it to me.
Listen, I know he went over 100. Damn near 50% of that came off of one run. I am not a Damien Harris truther. I think he's a jag. I think he's just a guy. I really do. I am not even going back to, and I know he had a very good collegiate profile, but when I watched Alabama, because, I grind that tape. I don't give a shit what y'all say. I grind the tape over here. I watched the tape, damn it. He was not better than Najee Harris, and I don't think he was better than Josh Jacobs. He was the first and second down grinder. Josh Jacobs was the third down receiving option, and then Najee Harris was the young stud running back. I think he's just a guy, man. I mean, those carries, he just doesn't do it for me. If I owned any Damien Harris, I would be selling immediately. Like, I'd be selling off of that game, off of those 17 carries. Rex Burkhead looked like he had more juice than him. And here's the problem. With those 17 carries, James White, I believe, still outscored him because he caught all the damn passes. I don't think Damien Harris even got one target, which is a problem. So if I'm going to invest in a early down grinder, give me Derrick Henry, give me Nick Chubb, give me somebody other than and I get it. That's a huge tier gap, right? I'm not comparing Damien Harris to those guys at all. but he doesn't do it for me, guys. And if I'm wrong, then I'll be wrong. But we just saw, as Nate alluded to, Sony Michel go for over 100 on 9 carries. I just doesn't do it for me. Now, granted, Kansas City's defense has been improved, but they were without Chris Jones, who's one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. And they were just empty carries for me. Outside of that 41-yard dash, he just looked okay to me. And it seemed like they were giving him every opportunity to like seize control of that backfield. And if he doesn't do it in the next couple of weeks, when Sony comes back, it's going to be even nastier than before. And I think the only running back that you're going to really want is still James White. Damien Harris doesn't do it for me, guys.
Yeah, and I think the threat of James White, and to walk it back a little bit further, this offseason we heard the headlines were all about, this is before Cam got there and probably even when Cam was there, we heard about adamantly how, much Damien Harris has elevated his game. There was a lot of, these FFPC drafts, a lot of these high stakes players. The fantasy community was buzzing for Damien Harris. This was finally the time. Now, admittedly, before I go any further, I will say Damien Harris. So I was on the opposite side as Ray. The 2019 class I thought was not very good, but Harris was my RB1. I fell in love with Harris. I had Harris above Sanders. I had Harris above Josh Jacobs, and then the other names that kind of followed there. So I thought I had a lot of hope for Damien
I wish
Harris.
I could insert gifs like live while we do this, because that is shocking, Lopes. That is.
I love Damien Harris, man. I really, really do. And that was, the 2019 class for me was a tough group in general. You had a couple of gems in there with like the Tony Pollards, but I thought it was a class that was more or less kind of just middle of the road. So Damien Harris did kind of stick out for me. Obviously, things haven't played out the way that I myself would have envisioned in New England. But I will say James White was always going to be kind of that guy, certainly for the receiving ability. I've kind of been off of Sony Michel. I know Nate's laid out a beautiful offseason case for him this past year. How he was a buy low, certainly was. He fell off my radar quickly. So I really thought the stars were slowly aligning for Damien Harris. Now, certainly started the season on IR, coming back here. I'm curious to see where this thing goes. I think that backfield, I don't want to say is wide open, but outside of James White, unless the Patriots decide to just saddle up and ride a Rex Burkhead, James White kind of tandem, which I wouldn't be surprised about, because to Ray's point, Burkhead has looked good in spots. But man, I'm hoping that Harris can kind of parlay that, that offseason talk, and make something happen. Just for my own satisfaction, boys, because again, I was far and away, I guess maybe hearing how Ray talks about Harris, I was way too high on Harris, but we're gonna see how things shake out, man. We need Cam to get healthy again, and we need Harris to stay healthy, and kind of see where things go. I have no idea what I'm doing with him, Nate. I guess if you had him like me, you're holding on to him and hoping that the headlines line up. But other than that, I mean, if you can sell off a 100-yard game, by all means, go for it.
I mean, I was told because he had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons and averaged 7 yards per carry in the SEC that this dude was.
That was me that was telling you that. I was telling you that.
This dude was the truth.
I told you that.
Now,
I'll pull up my text messages.
Listen, pull them out. Listen, Ryan, I agree. I had to mute you. I had to put you on. What's the mode on the iPhone? How do you ignore? Yeah. I don't know what it is.
I think you just deleted my number.
Yeah, I think that's what I did. I actually changed it, and then. He's coming at the NFL level, and what happened last year? Like, everybody's making excuses on this team that had running issues all year long. We never saw Damien Harris get on the field and it's a difficult offense. You couldn't figure it out. All these narratives got built up to protect Damien Harris because he was this SEC back and the athleticism was decent. And everybody thought it was going to be favorable. But to Ray's point, maybe Ray's right. Maybe the dude just is an average runner. And there's a lot of average runners in the league. There's a lot of average runners in the league. Listen, and Sony Michel, when healthy, has been great. I mean, admittedly, the guy's proven himself multiple times. And what was shocking is to see him get utilized in the passing game just a little bit. Just a little bit. If Sony Michel ever turned into like a 4-catch-a-game guy, you'd have to put a diaper on me every Sunday because I would shit myself. All right, Ray.
Here's the problem with New England, though. It's no matter how good he does rushing the ball, let's just say he hits your expectations. He's not going to be on the field in third downs. He's not going to be on the field in 2-minute situations. And I've literally seen fantasy games crumble away at the 3-minute mark in the fourth quarter because James White goes out there and catches 6 balls for 62 yards and a touchdown on the final fucking drive. Like, it's not going to be Damien Harris. So if you're rolling him out there, you are banking on the fact that he really probably rips off a run for the touchdown because for whatever reason, Rex Burkhead is like the goal line back. Hell, even James White gets in there in the goal line situations. They have not had like a primary ball carrier since Corey Dillon, I believe. And I'm just off the top of my head. They're going to continue to use 3-4 fucking backs, man.
Don't forget about Lawrence Maroney. All right, so let's rotate here. Let's talk a little bit about the Chargers. Let's talk about Austin Eckler's injury, which is it could be multiple weeks. It sounds like everybody was getting high on the Joshua Kelly train. They're like, this is it. This guy's taking off. So what's the deal? I mean, how much of a workload can this guy handle? And if you are in redraft leagues at least, are you going out and trying to get your hands on Austin Eckler right now?
I'm not buying the 4 to 6 week timeline. When they were talking, like people are talking about, he like tore his fucking hammy, right?
It sounded bad.
And listen, I'm not a medical professional, so maybe I should buy it, but it's just those are injuries that just linger, man. Golly, that's just brutal for a player who, I mean, his game is predicated on that quick twitchy ability, right? That's his game. He's not just like this mauler or anything like that. He's speed, he's quick twitchy, he makes people miss in space. I'd be more inclined to buy Eckler in Dynasty, but I'm not. It's got to be at a significant discount because I'm weary on him for this season for sure. And then hopefully, those hammies are just stuff that you just hope that they can, recover from. I mean, we see Julio Jones limping around every damn week because of his hamstring. Joshua Kelly can handle the workload. I mean, I think he's had a 20 carry game this season already, but can he handle, like, literally hold on to the fucking ball? I think he fumbled the ball twice last week. He had a fumble the week before. And I really think he's a talented running back. He was good at UCLA. I know Kelly talks a lot about him, what he did at the Senior Bowl. But you got to be able to hold on to the ball. And if he can't, then we're going to see Justin Jackson. I think we're going to see a lot more Justin Jackson than we want to see anyway. So I think this is I'm not going to say it's not a backfield to avoid by any stretch, but I think we should temper expectations because Josh, the other guy, the other J name, what's his name? Jackson.
Justin Jackson.
Yeah, he might be the Eckler pass catching role, and Joshua Kelly was always going to be that Melvin Gordon type grinder. He can catch the ball, but he's got to hold on to the damn thing, man, because that offense looks up. Listen, Herbert looks really good. Like, I know that wasn't part of the question, but the silent assassin, Howitzer Herbert, man, he looks good, man. He looks really, really good, and it's good for that offense. So I do think we can count on Josh Kelly. I think Jackson is going to have his moments, but Eckler, I don't know how much I would buy him in seasonal leagues. I don't trust it, man.
Yeah, he's again, the injury initially, I haven't dug into it too much, so I don't want to stand on any of these quotes. But again, what I was reading initially made it seem like obviously on IR, I read several weeks. The hamstring sounded really, really bad. If we want to get super kind of narrative street with it, this is one of the best conditioned players in the NFL. Just stupid good shape. So maybe that plays a little bit into his recovery. Maybe he's able to kind of beat that timeline by 2 or 3 weeks, whatever it is. I wouldn't necessarily bet against Eckler, but safe money probably sounds like, again, hammies linger around. It's probably going to nag him for a while. It sounded bad. I hope it's not, because he is certainly one of the more fun players in the league to watch. Now, touching on kind of going forward, I do agree with, I think this is a team that Anthony Lynn coach team that is kind of determined to have a split backfield anyways. We saw that when Eckler was healthy. We saw how they inserted Joshua Kelly. I don't think that really changes with, Justin Jackson now. They're gonna ride maybe Kelly harder on the ground, and they got Jackson, again, doing that satellite pass catch and third down back work as well. So a little bit sloppier now with Eckler out of the picture. I think there's a slight bump to Joshua Kelly. I can't imagine he's someone that you're going to go out there and chase. I imagine the owner's going to be asking way too much given the situation that's currently presented itself. Hopefully you were smart and came away with them, kind of mid to late rounds in your startups and for dynasty purposes. But yeah, man, redraft leagues, slight bump to Kelly. Justin Jackson, slight bump to him, but again, it's going to be more kind of split work, and it's going to be kind of tough to decipher on a week-to-week basis, I think.
Listen, Ray, you and I think we agreed preseason about our rankings with these rookie running backs. I think you and I were very aligned. I think you and I probably had the same third running back. Was J.K. Dobbins your number 3 in this class?
That's correct.
Okay. So I've got a question for you, Ray. Now, I've got a case laid out. I don't know if you've seen it on Twitter, but as much as I love J.K. Dobbins, I am concerned about the situation in Baltimore. And it's not even just that he's not the starter yet. I'm actually concerned about Dobbins after he becomes the starter. But I'll let you go first, Ray. What is going on with J.K. Dobbins in Baltimore?
Okay, so my thing with Dobbins is I've said it. I put a show out making the case for him and Lamar Jackson being the best duo in the NFL for years to come. It was never going to happen for Dobbins this year. You know, it just, regardless of what people think, it was never going to happen. Mark Ingram is like ingrained in that Baltimore culture, even though he hasn't been there long, and he played out of his mind last season. There's no way that Harbaugh was going to just relegate Mark Ingram to the bench. Listen, Gus Edwards, I've got like a soft spot for Gus the Bus. Like, I think he's a decent, serviceable replacement level running back. I think he's okay, right? If he were in another system, it wouldn't surprise me if he shockingly gave us a 1,000-yard season like once in his career, right? I can see that happening for Gus Edwards. It was never going to happen for J.K. Dobbins this year. People forget, as high as we were on Dobbins during rookie draft season, he was damn near a third-round pick. Like, I mean, he went late second. Like, we were just watching it. Like, when is Dobbins going to go? When is Dobbins going to go? I'm really surprised at the low rushing volume of the Ravens' offensive running backs. That has been shocking to me this year. I really thought they were going to pull away from Jackson running so much, or they're running efficiently, but they're not. I thought they were just going to bludgeon people to death, but I mean, they're quick striking folks. Andrews is more involved. They're getting Hollywood involved. I don't know, man. And they've got him playing like this third down role. He doesn't even carry the ball. It's not making my take look good right now. But I think if it's going to happen, because I had a hot one, man. I forgot what podcast I was on. I was probably sky high when I said this. But I said that next year we will be drafting J.K. Dobbins ahead of Clyde Edwards-Helaire and J.K. Dobbins. And listen, I'm being open with you guys.
Gotta be open, bro.
He's
all my takes were shitty this past offseason.
The offense at Ohio State, it mirrored what they do in Baltimore with not even arguably, with a better quarterback in Lamar Jackson. And I'm a big Justin Fields fan. So that situation aligned as well. He's not even carrying the ball, and I don't know why. I'm confused as to what's going on. I haven't dug into that situation. He's like the third down back right now, so that take is not looking good right now. And they're not really running the ball with the running backs. I don't know what's up.
Yeah, and Ray brought up, coach speak and beat writers and reading into headlines. I forgot who we were talking about a little bit ago, but Dobbins is another case where, and to walk that back a little bit further, especially this offseason where, again, COVID offseason, just we were relying so heavily, even more so, on the beat reporters that were granted the access and all that stuff. So whatever was being reported out of camp, we had no choice this time around to take that as essentially gospel. And the Dobbins headlines were coming so consistently. This was a player, again, late second round selection. The draft capital was there, perhaps not where some of us maybe wanted it, but enough to warrant the headlines that he was getting, and John Harbaugh coming out, talking him up, how he's going to get involved early. And through a month of the season here, it hasn't played out that way. And it's frustrating because I bought into the Justice Hill hype the year before. I was like, yeah, this is the guy you have to own, Lamar Jackson. So like that completely fell apart, crashed and burned. And I am worried that, maybe not to that extent, but I'm worried that the Dobbins rookie year experience is going to kind of go the same route. I mean, he's not even getting the targets, you know what I mean? 0 targets week 1, 4, and back down to 2 last week. He just isn't there. I think what we were hoping for, again, to Ray's point, probably wasn't going to happen to where the hype was with Dobbins. Ingram was still there, Jackson, et cetera, et cetera. But I thought the hope was at least he would siphon up some of that pass game work, and it just hasn't been the case for an inexplicable reason or reasons that I can't put my finger on. But again, we're preaching patience, boys, and that's what we got to do with Dobbins here. So just hope maybe the quarter 2, quarter 3 here things turn around.
So, I mean, the case for Dobbins is probably that this is a Baltimore team that is built to win a title today. He's a rookie in this system. Mark Ingram has been good enough. I mean, he's been good everywhere he's gone. He is fundamentally sound in this system. Gus Edwards has been good, and maybe it is just a waiting game for him. But Ray, that isn't even my concern. Hear me out on this. So here we go. I think that Lamar Jackson himself is actually killing the featured running back role in Baltimore. Here's why. Historically, he has almost no track record of targeting the running back position. It's not an innate skill set that he has. It's not something that he's ever deferred to. It's not really a part of his game. Over the past 2 years, or at least since his rookie season, he's averaged over 9 carries per game. So he's eating up a chunk of opportunity right off the bat. This year, Baltimore ranks 31st in pass attempts. Last year, they ranked 32nd in pass attempts. So you've got Lamar Jackson in a low-volume passing offense, and all these extra running back opportunities are being traded for Lamar Jackson rush attempts. So my concern is that we may never see Dobbins turn into this high-volume pass catcher, which is what we've spent half the show talking about, that we're chasing. Historically, for Lamar Jackson, has started 25 games. Only twice in his 25 starts has he ever targeted a running back more than 4 times in a single game. And he's not even throwing the ball that much. So my question is, where is this volume ever going to come from? I mean, Lamar Jackson's going to have to run a lot less, which I don't think anybody thinks is going to happen for a running back to necessarily ascend as a pass catcher in this offense. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Damn. Those are my thoughts. That's damn. I mean, in 25 you said games, or 25 starts, he's only targeted a running back 4 times or more twice. That's concerning. And listen, Lamar Jackson is not going to stop running. That's what makes him Lamar Jackson. He's not. Get it out of your mind that he's going to do. Maybe he'll be like Russell Wilson and he'll become this. That's not him. The day that Lamar Jackson stops running the ball, that's it. Like, he's no longer Lamar Jackson. So if that's the case, and he's going to continue to get, and that's an average of 9 a game, right? That's not counting those games where he just has 15. You know what I mean? He's got 13. That's a significant percentage of rushing attempts that are siphoned away from J.K. Dobbins, not to mention Gus Edwards' 4 carries that he's going to get, and then Mark Ingram. What I will say is, let's see what happens after the season, because I believe Mark Ingram's contract was a 2-year deal, so he could be gone next year. Gus Edwards, I believe, is an unrestricted free agent. He could be gone. It could be J.K. Dobbins. And I do believe, here's my only pushback, Nate. I think the zone read would be twice as effective with J.K. Dobbins. I mean, when that 6 times he has gotten the ball this season, there's juice in those legs. I mean, he's got something that Mark Ingram doesn't have right now at 30 years old or 31 years old, however Ingram is. I want to see it play out in 2021. If Ingram is out of the way, even if Gus Edwards is there, at least getting Ingram out of the way, I think that zone read just works so much better when you've got an explosive athlete like J.K. Dobbins back there. But outside of a significant injury to Mark Ingram, which, knock on wood, we don't wish for those type of things, I definitely think his upside is capped and his floor is 0. And I've had to start Dobbins in some leagues, and it is not a fun experience. And it's just so funny that in the draft class that we all drooled over these running backs and how freaking great they were going to be and how long it takes receivers to get acclimated, outside of CEH and Gibson and an undrafted guy and James Robinson, the receivers are the guys that you want to fucking start. You want to start Justin Jefferson and Jerry Jeudy. You know, it's just fantasy football is a fickle beast. But really the case you made against that rushing attack, or not really against Dobbins, but your concerns for Dobbins, it's valid, man. You can't argue those numbers. And I didn't realize it was so the skew was that much. That's concerning. That's very concerning.
Yeah, it's just different because Lamar Jackson is just absolutely lethal with his legs in his whole career. That's what he's built his game on. He defeats you as a defense with the threat that he's going to run, and when he breaks you down, he runs. I mean, the guy's amazing. There's no doubt. Like, as a quarterback, he's MVP caliber. He's already won it. I mean, this guy is as good as anybody else. And even on low passing volume, his touchdowns have been incredible. Like, he's doing it as a passer too. But it's concerning for me in a game where I put so much stock in the receiving ability of my running backs in fantasy football that the future of the running back position at Baltimore may not be as good as we think. Again, last year, Mark Ingram, only 29 targets on the year as the lead back in that offense. So something to think about. So listen, Ray, I told my patrons over on patreon.com/I'm outraged. I said, listen, we got Ray coming on the show. Toss some questions in the bucket. I'll go through them. I will read them out loud on the show, and we'll get him to answer some. We got a lot of them. I had to pare it down to a couple. I mean, this show is already going to be pretty long as it is. So I want to read you two right here because I thought that these sort of embodied a lot of what the rest of the questions were. Ryan, just like yourself, very into Devy, very heavy. Like you said, you grind the fuck out of the tape. There's no doubt about it. Over on your Patreon, you're doing a lot of that as well. You're doing the Lord's work, Ray, just like LeBron James. So here we are. We got some Patreon questions for you. This first one comes from Christian Hallstein. It says, how does the 2021 class compare to the 2020 class? Will second-round picks be as valuable next summer?
Absolutely, if not more. If not more. And let me tell you why. And I've preached this ad nauseum. I'm actually quite tired of saying this. What this COVID-led season has allowed to happen is some of the players who would not have had a chance to have as much opportunity had a Jamar Chase stayed at LSU, had Jamie Newman, return to Georgia to play. They've got an opportunity to shine. They have an opportunity to, whereas, prior to this college season, Kyle Trask was probably a day 3 pick, quarterback from Florida. Right now, he's playing his way into day 2 consideration, early day 2 consideration. Terrace Marshall, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson's backup at LSU last year. He's going to be a first-round pick. I believe Terrace Marshall, when it's all said and done, he's going to push for round 1 NFL draft cap. Allowed some of these players to elevate their game. And when I'm looking at my rankings right now, and I'm just, assuming a super flex format, when you're talking about players in that 13 to 24 range, I'm just going to rattle off some names, boys. Kyle Pitts, Seth Williams, Ross St. Brown, Tutu Atwell, Tylan Wallace, Kenneth Gainwell, Journey Brown, Brevin Jordan, Pat Freiermuth, Cameron Harris. That's just a couple. I didn't even mention Kamarion Terry or Zamir White or Kylan Hill or Trey Sermon, Chris Evans, Charleston Rambo. It's deep. It's deep. So if I had to just very general say quarterbacks in 2021 better. I think the quarterbacks, when you got Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields in the class, Trey Lance just declared today that the quarterbacks in 2021 on paper as prospects better than 2020. Running backs, give the nod to 2020. Like, we're not even going to go down that list, right? The 2021 running backs, quite shaky. Wide receivers, I'd say it's a push. The wide receivers in 2021, there's a chance, man, that Rondell Moore, Jamar Chase, Rashad Bateman, Jalen Waddle is my dark horse pick as the first wide receiver off of the board in 2021. I said it on multiple shows, and Ryan, I'm not the biggest Henry Ruggs fan, but I said Henry Ruggs was going to be the first wide receiver drafted because he runs a 4.2.
Teams love that. Yeah, absolutely.
Jalen Waddle is right there with. I don't think he's Henry Ruggs. He's not as fast as Henry Ruggs, but he's right there.
If you're a step or two slower than Ruggs, you're still fast as fuck.
It is the wide receivers. It's a push. Tight end, no doubt, it is 1,000 times better in 2020. Tight ends are non-existent in 2020. I know the Adam Troutman love. We wanted that to be something. Harrison Bryant has looked all right with Cleveland, but 2021. I believe we see 3 tight ends drafted in the first round. Brevin Jordan from Miami, Pat Freiermuth at Penn State, and Kyle Pitts will probably be a top 10 pick in the NFL draft out of Florida. It's going to be a very fun class. So for all those idiots out there who were telling you to fade 2021 picks, be mindful of who the fuck you listen to, because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Just dumb.
All right, Ray. Wow, that was heavy-handed at the end. Big turn there. So listen.
Sometimes you listen, Nate. Let me tell you,
man.
Yeah. Let me tell you, man. I thought about this driving home today. This year I've made a commitment to myself to not get riled up. This is why I like y'all, man. This This shit is fun. Very few people in this fantasy space actually earn a living, like a true living off of fantasy football analysis. Very few people. All right. This is fun. I told myself, like, I'm not going to get worked up anymore. I get all kinds of dumb tweets coming my way. I said, I'm not going to get worked up. But sometimes you just got to cuss a motherfucker out sometimes. And sometimes I just got to tell people, you are stupid as hell. And that's just what that's what it requires, man. And I'm at that point, I'm at that point in my fantasy career. I just don't give a shit. I'm just going to say whatever. I don't care who I offend. I don't know how I got on this tangent, but whoever told you to fade 2021 picks, don't listen, people.
I love it. Ray is beholden to no man. All right, Ray, I got one more question from you. This is from one of our long-term patrons, second-round pick. So here's the question. As a Devi savant, and then in parentheses here, Destination Devi Forever is what he says.
One of your patrons too, I guess.
Yeah. There you go. How concerned are you about the return of the Big Ten and the draft stars and the potential that they may suffer the same fate of Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, due to the fact that they're kind of abruptly jumping back in from normal routines?
It's scary, man. I'll just say it is scary. Athletes, you're creatures of habit, man, and everything that they've been accustomed to doing from the time that they played Pop Warner football has been flipped upside down. And to start a season, and I think they start October 24th, and they're playing 7 games, and then they're going out there to, it's scary, but they say in basketball, shoot or shoot, man. These guys want to play. I mean, I've been there. I understand. Like, you truly don't think about that stuff, but that's why hopefully their agents are behind the scenes telling them to chill out. But it's that's the risk that we play. Football it's a dangerous sport, man. And regardless if they played in 7 games or 13 full college games, the same shit can happen. So, you can't really think about that. You just gotta roll with the punches, man. And hopefully we don't see any of that happen. We really don't want to see any of the top guys in the Big Ten go down. And let's just hope that they get through these 7-8 games unscathed.
I agree, Ryan. You got anything to add, or you want to let Ray run away with that?
We're gonna let Ray run away with it, man. We talked a little bit off air about just conditioning, man, and how important it is. And I think Ray touched on all that, and it's good to keep in the back of your minds for sure.
I mean, fucking Ray's in great shape. It's clear. You can see it in the camera.
Look at him, man.
The guy,
fucking shut the
the
guns out.
Lakers are playing tonight, but Ray, you could have picked a shirt with sleeves, bro.
We're up 46-45. I'm in pretty good shape, guys. I'm in good shape.
There you go. Pure disrespect. So, all right, Ray. Rodney Anderson on the year, somehow outproducing DJ Moore. And I went to Twitter. I traveled to Twitter. I traveled to one of the worst places on planet Earth.
It's a dangerous place. It's
dangerous.
And I couldn't believe my eyes because I didn't see it once and I didn't see it twice. I saw it 10, 15 times. People that I follow were tweeting this. And people were saying that Robbie Anderson is the new wide receiver 1 in Carolina. Ray, I'm asking you as a friend, as a fantasy football fellow analyst, please tell me that they are wrong, right? This is not true.
No, he's not the new wide receiver. I mean, he's playing very well. Like, props to Robbie Anderson, man. He's out there. He's doing his thing. He's catching passes. He's involved. I believe he had 11 targets this past week. I mean, but if I'm not mistaken, DJ Moore is still top 10 in targets in the NFL. It's just it hasn't clicked yet. The offense, Teddy Bridgewater is a fantastic story. I'm so glad he's out there playing. He's not the long-term answer in Carolina. They don't have Christian McCaffrey right now, and I know Mike Davis has filled in admirably. They really, I know this show is a fan of Ian Thomas. He ain't really it at tight end. Like, in my opinion, he's okay. He's an okay tight end. It's just, it's Matt Rule. It's Joe Brady. Everything is new there. DJ Moore's 23 fucking years old. Like, he's 23. The bigger issue is we need DJ Moore to score touchdowns. Like, that's been the big thing. It's just he has not gotten us the tubs that we needed to feel really good about. But I'm not listen, where we drafted him at, yes, he has not produced to the level of where we were taking him in season leagues or in dynasty leagues. But I'm not concerned in either format. Now, I will say this. if I've got a better option, he might have to sit his ass on the bench for a week. Like I'm not just going to blindly throw him out there depending on the matchup. But no, Robbie Anderson is not the wide receiver one in Carolina. Stop it, guys. Zacchaeus led the damn Falcons in targets last night. Is he the wide receiver one in Atlanta? I mean,
might be.
I just think over his shit, he might be. Like now that you say, he really might be. But just chill out. Like 4 games, it's a decent sample size. But if by week 8 this is the trend, then maybe something's going on this year. But I'm not concerned long term for DJ Moore. But I also, depending on the matchup, if I've got better options, I'll throw DK Metcalf out there over DJ Moore right now. Just the situation is just a little bit better.
Yeah, DJ Moore, number 12 in targets, number 12 in air yards, number 4 in air yard share. He's still checking the boxes. I think, the Carolina team's been tough to watch the spots, especially on the defensive side of the ball. There's, again, new quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater, getting his feet wet, getting acclimated, the offense in general, new coach, all that stuff. A lot of moving parts. You gotta, again, goes back to we've preached it all show, boys. It's just believe in the talent. Be patient. Don't start second guessing yourself. Don't start creating these narratives. DJ Moore, still a hell of a player. I have a hard time believing he's not the primary focus of that offense, especially with Christian McCaffrey sidelined. So yeah, I wouldn't go overreacting to anything.
Listen, I don't want to get cute with this shit. There's nothing to get cute with, but let's put it this way. Number one, we got some problems right now, right? So currently on the year, DJ Moore has got the drops going on. Number 8 at the position with the drop rate. That hasn't been in his favor because his target share is very similar to Robbie Anderson's on the year this year. But one of the big differences between these two players is the yards after the catch. Are you ready for an absolutely shocking stat? On the year, Robbie Anderson, 193 yards after the catch. Ray, off the top of your head, without looking, how many yards after the catch do you believe DJ Moore has on 2 less targets?
128.
DJ Moore has 33 yards after the catch. He has less yards after the catch than Curtis Samuel does this year.
It's weird.
DJ Moore was number.
He has how many yards after the catch?
33 yards after the catch. DJ Moore last year was number 8 in yards after the catch. Now, admittedly, Player Profiler has it at 32. You're going to have a difference of a yard or two on other sites, but he was number 8 at the position. Ryan already brought this up. The air yards are there. The target share is there. The yards after the catch haven't been there. DJ Moore was on an unreal pace at one point. It's going to come back around, and it's going to come back around this weekend because they're getting the Atlanta Falcons, who got torched by Trubisky and Foles and that whole team and every other team that's faced them so far. This is the week he gets right. So you got to put it behind you. I realize Robbie Anderson was getting target share last week, right? He was getting more target share, but look at the ADOT between these two players. Right now, DJ Moore, 12.6, Robbie Anderson, 9.1. When everything bounces back, when everything regresses back to the mean, DJ Moore is going to be the king of this castle once again. Everything is there. He needs to secure the ball. The target share is already there. People need to chill out, okay? It's the yards after the catch. And again, Robbie Anderson had a 75-yard touchdown one game. That shit's way inflated, all right?
Yeah.
Shit's way inflated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right, man. I've said my piece.
Love it, man. See, I grind the tape, but I come to y'all for the data, man. I need the numbers from y'all. I don't give a shit. Listen, there's smarter people out there than me who can go look this up. I just watch the tape, but this is good. I can build this into my narrative.
There you go. There you go. All right, man. Here we go. Ryan put this question on here, and I love it. It says, Nick Chubb goes to IR. We go live to Nate Liss.
Just kissed it off the backboard.
Oh, dude. All I got to say is Merry Christmas, bitches. This is it. This is what we said because earlier in the year, my belief was that it would only take 180, 190 touches for Kareem Hunt to finish as a top 15 running back at the position. He is already sitting at the running back 7 on just a 42.7 opportunity share, baby. Running back 33. How is it possible? Somebody tell me how is it possible? This man's good. He's good.
I'm hurt because I believe I tweeted the show and I said I was listening to the show with Nick and I said it was a fire show. But you guys are crazy as hell talking about selling Nick Chubb. What the fuck are y'all thinking about? And to back that up, because I am a man who practices what he preaches, I acquired, I believe, 4 or 5 shares of Nick Chubb last week, like before the injury.
Things you hate to see.
Yeah, you hate to see it, guys. You hate to see it. I have no words, man. I truly believe in my heart of hearts, he's the best running back in football. Just best running back in. He's
Pure
just
runner.
fantastic. Yes, he doesn't get the targets that we want. Kareem Hunt, probably a top 5. Like, we're talking about Edwards-Helaire and all that. Kareem Hunt goes anywhere else in the NFL, sans Carolina or Kansas City, and he's a top back in the NFL. This is just unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and what's scary and my only trepidation with Chubb is he had a gruesome ACL tear at Georgia. I remember watching that game versus Tennessee.
Yeah, that sucked.
I could still see it on the sideline. I mean, it was gruesome, and I was thinking about this last night watching the game. Look how quick shit changed for Todd Gurley. Like, look how in Dynasty, man, in football, like the running back he went from the top of the mountain to the bottom of the hill like that. It just seemed like it happened overnight. So thankfully he didn't tear anything in his knee. It wasn't another ACL injury, but it's tough, man. It's brutal, but wheels up Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, I don't think Nate Liss is necessarily a victory lapping type. Although he did yell "Merry Christmas, bitches" to start the whole deal. But no, I mean, the fact of the matter is Nate's hypothesis to start the season was sound in logic, and I mean there really is, again, when Nick Chubb was healthy. I mean, just the backfield that Cleveland was rolling out, far and away the best. I mean, we talk about Elliott and Pollard, but I mean having Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in the same backfield, stupid spoils the riches. It just sucks, man. Because again, Nick Chubb, one of my favorite players, favorite stories coming out of Georgia. The way that he plays, kind of, I don't want to say undervalued with Kareem Hunt there, but certainly Hunt does his thing and caps his ceiling. So it's a credit to him.
Nick Chubb was balling on Sunday before he got hurt, man.
And the way the Browns were using him, I think they were content rolling Chubb out there first couple quarters, let him get all the work, and then just have kind of Hunt just kind of cap things off quarter 3, quarter 4, whatever. So I think they were content relying on Chubb, still letting Nate's guy get some work. It just sucks the way that things shake out. And like Ray said, things really change. It's just a drop of a dime in the NFL. And I hope it's nothing long term or something that's going to linger, but we just got to play day by day, week by week, folks.
Listen, man, this was a team that was averaging almost 30 rush attempts a game. So without Nick Chubb there, I mean, Kareem Hunt's volume over the next handful of weeks is going to go lunar. This guy is going to be a 30-touch guy. I mean, he's certainly in that range. He could be a 25 carry, 6-7 target a game guy. And if he was already producing like he was producing on a 33rd running back overall snap share, dude, it's over. Like, Kareem Hunt is going to smash to the likes of which you have never seen. So if you had him, if you picked him up in Dynasty, you took that risk. I grabbed him in every startup I could grab him in because he was falling to the 5th, the 6th round. And this is one of those cases where you just bet on the talent. And God damn, Kareem Hunt is good. It's tough to see Nick Chubb go down like that. But again, I mean,
what is Cleveland's record? Are they 3-1?
It's a good ass.
Yeah, they're 3-1.
And if they're going to run. They are going to. I know everybody's really pumped up about Dearness Johnson. I get it. I understand. Kareem Hunt was still nursing a groin injury. He's going to be like Nate said. He's getting at minimum 20 touches a game. Minimum. Like, he's a 20 touch. He's locked and loaded top 4 running back until Nick Chubb comes back. I mean, and he is, guys, he's so good. Like, I know, listen, I listen to you guys. I know there were some people. I ain't calling any names, man. I don't want the boss coming down on me. But I do know that there was some chatter about him potentially just being okay, just in that. But he was a part of that Kansas City backfield. Kareem Hunt's fucking good, man. Kareem Hunt is legit.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt's so good. And the fact of the matter is he was already averaging 15.5 touches per game before this happened. Like, it's over. Like, he's going to get the ball all day. And now Odell is playing good again, and Baker Mayfield looks competent all of a sudden. This team has a confidence and a swagger. They're winning football games, which is something they haven't done in forever. Like, man, they're going to lean behind. You're going to lean behind Kareem Hunt, and this is going to be exciting football in Cleveland. I can't believe what's happening right now. I cannot believe it. So again, Merry Christmas, bitches, and it's everybody that drafted Kareem Hunt. We didn't wish for an injury, but start him in all formats, any format. Start him in all formats. Just rake the money in. Just rake it all in. Okay, Ray. Now, I don't know if you and I are going to see eye to eye here. I don't know. I've fought this fight for a long time. As I said it before, what was the quote the other day, Ryan, about this guy? Didn't I say something like he was a piñata till candy spilled out of his ass? I don't remember the line. The point is,
it was definitely a gem.
Ryan put on the show sheet, Chase Edmonds has looked like the best back in Arizona. What is your take on Chase Edmonds? Because I've had so many fights over Chase Edmonds, and I'm ready for another one if it's going to happen.
I like Chase Edmonds. I do like Chase Edmonds. But I tweeted this out 2 hours before the show. I traded Ezekiel Elliott for Kenyon Drake plus some other pieces as well. I was really, really high on Kenyon Drake coming into the season, and this is just conspiracy theory here. I do believe that whatever injury he was nursing right before the season started is probably still hampering him to some degree. He just hasn't looked as explosive as he did towards the end of last season. He's still getting some volume. The pass, the receiving work is and it's almost kind of to a degree what you said about Lamar Jackson, right? I don't have Kyler Murray's running back targets pulled up. I don't know how much he utilizes the running back in the pass game. I know towards the end of last season, when they traded for Kenyon Drake, they utilized him a lot in the receiving game. But I'm just thinking historically, like thinking about Kyler Murray at Oklahoma, and like I just don't really. When stuff breaks down, he's running. Like he's not unless it's a design play call to the running back, a pass play to the running back. He's not looking at that check down. I'm not there yet, Ryan. I'm not there yet. I'm not Chase Edmonds over Kenyon. I still have blind faith. Maybe it's just because I've been a Kenyon Drake truther for so long, even going back to his time at Alabama. I know Kelly said he stunk at Alabama and he was stunk with the Dolphins, and he stinks now.
Yeah, but he doesn't. Kelly doesn't really mince words. You know what I mean? No, he just kind of lays it out there.
But hey, I'm not backing down to that guy. I don't give a shit. I already told you. Sometimes you just gotta cuss a motherfucker out. But I'm still on it. But I'm looking out the window, guys. I'm looking out to see where the next stop is at the train station. I'm still on there, but I'm about to pull the damn lever thing and say, let me off. Because Chase Edmonds has looked, they're using him in the passing game. I'm just hoping Drake can turn this around.
Yeah, and for where Drake was going in, your home leagues, your redraft leagues, FFPC, whatever. I mean, he was a early round pick, and there was a lot of buzz around this Cardinals offense in general. And again, Drake fell into that. So again, we talk about situation aligned for sure. He's number 7 in carries, number 13 in opportunity share. You scroll down, the problem is on player profile. You scroll down to his efficiency, and his efficiency numbers are just dog shit. He's just not making shit happen. 51 in yards per touch, true yards per carry. He's about 50 as well. He's just a bunch of 40 to 50 ranked running back as far as being efficient with the touches he's given, the opportunities given in that explosive Arizona offense. So things, again, it could go back to where we are talking about these other players. Things haven't worked out through the first month of the season. Yes, we have now 4 games under our belt. But again, trust the offense, perhaps trust the situation, trust the play calls. I believe Kingsbury was on record today talking about how he's aware of, what Drake's doing, what he's not doing. It sounds like they got a lot of confidence in him still. So that should mean something, going back to talking about coach speak and all that good stuff. So, yeah, I was more or less just curious, Ray, where you fell with Chase, because I certainly have seen a lot on the timeline about people, ready to kind of jump off as you might be yourself, ready to jump off that Kenyon Drake train. If things really don't kind of start lining up over the next couple of weeks.
Let me just say this. The starting running back for the Arizona Cardinals is not on this roster for next season. That's what I'm saying. 2021, Kenyon Drake was on a 1-year transition tag. Even though Chase Edmonds will be here, I don't believe that they think Chase Edmonds is the guy. Even though Cliff Kingsbury, all the way back in August, was quoted as saying, we all feel like he's a starting running back in this league, and he does too. Then he goes on to say, we felt that we were confident in Chase and what he brings to the table. When he had opportunities, he shined, and he continues to shine. He can catch it, he can block, he can play special teams, blah, blah, blah. But then Kenyon Drake, we all agree, doesn't look that great and may have an injury lingering, and somehow Drake has doubled Chase Edmonds' snaps. Right now it's 67.3% to Drake, 34.5% to Chase Edmonds. So how could Chase Edmonds possibly be a starting back? You haven't even given him an opportunity to be the guy in this offense yet. The one upside to Chase Edmonds, which Ray already brought up, is that he's averaging 4.25 targets a game, which puts him on almost a 70 target pace for the season, which is great. I mean, that's actually pretty shocking to hear. But if you look at him over the last 2 weeks, his snap share has actually gone down. It hasn't even gone up. It actually went down. So I don't know what to tell you. I think you're getting mixed signals. I actually don't think Arizona even believes in him that much. I think they'd rather ride the hand of Kenyon Drake than they would Chase Edmonds. And for that reason, I don't think that Drake gets re-signed in Arizona, and I don't think that Chase Edmonds is the starter in Arizona after Kenyon Drake is gone in 2021. I think it's somebody else. So that's my thoughts on the whole situation. I think there's been a really weird amount of coach speak that people are riding behind. And again, I don't really get behind the small school running backs. Call me crazy, guys. 5'9", 205 comes from Fordham. Ray, where the fuck is Fordham?
If you had $1 million in cash, I would fail because I have no clue. I'm going to assume it's in East Coast, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's in New York. I think it's the Bronx.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, what?
It's in the
What?
fucking
Why?
Bronx?
Yeah, it's a tough place.
Oh, I'm gonna fucking.
Yeah.
I gotta win.
Who? They're not.
What's the point?
Hey, Bronx,
Like-
New York. God
like-
damn, give your boy some Jeopardy.
Like, why? I mean, but come on, man. Like, why? Like, how many of these
Yeah.
guys, and we've gone over this before, like, dude, I know it's an outlier. I know if you were going to play the game, the conference, the school game, it's a risky game to play. But guess what? I could play that hand a lot, and I can win a lot because it just plays out true. Yep. And Chase Edmonds is talented, but he's not a big running back either. He's not a 5'10", 5'11", 215, 218-pound back. He's a smaller running back. He's been treated this way. Even when David Johnson wasn't playing that well, he wasn't breaking past David Johnson. Then Kenyon Drake gets traded for during the season and just eats his lunch for like 10 straight weeks. Like, why? Why are we getting behind Chase Edmonds? Ray, why?
We're looking for the next thing, man. I think that's listen. And like you said, I think he's good in his role. You know, let him tote the rock a couple of times a game, utilize him in the passing game. But I do think once Kenyon Drake gets his shit together, I think they want him to be at least the guy for this season. But I'm with you. They're going to draft like Travis Etienne next year. They're going to find a running back to pair with Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, no doubt.
Can we just call Chase Edmonds Duke Johnson already and go on with our fucking lives?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Like, I mean, I'm just like
There it is.
physically ill. All right. I'm trying to figure out what Ryan's about to do here. Can we talk about Preston Williams? Because this brings me to another point, okay? Preston Williams is a perfect example for me, okay? I want to do a thought experiment real quick. Ryan, I want you guys to close your eyes, okay? Close your eyes for a minute. Just think.
Okay.
Imagine a player on one of the least talented offensive rosters in the league, okay? You got your eyes closed. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now picture that he's an undrafted free agent, okay? You got that? You got that image? Now also imagine that he's an awful athlete. Okay? Now open your eyes. Congratulations. You should have fucking sold him in 2019. What is this? Why? Who still has Preston Williams on their roster? What's going on here? Right? Why?
Yeah. And I want to say, I put this on the show sheet. We had to talk about it because I was tweeting about Preston Williams, and then my boy Ray came up right behind me and said, yo, Preston Williams, let's go. Dude, we were in sync. We were in lockstep. We're happy about Preston Williams. Nate's here to shit all over us, Ray.
Go ahead, Ray.
Just wait until Tua gets there. Let's. I don't. Let's.
Yes, that's the right answer, Ray.
Let's wait until Tua. It hasn't looked good. It has not been good. He is not. He's not getting the targets. He's scoring a touchdown here and there. but it's been rough. Now, I'm going to make excuses for my boy because he is coming off of an ACL tear, so he's got to listen. Listen, y'all have talked. I fucking listen, man. Y'all don't invest in wide receivers the year after they come off of an ACL injury. We said that all about Cooper Kupp. So give him. Let's give him a little buffer there, right? Fitzpatrick, great story. He's got his moments, but he's not. We talk about Lamar running and Kyle. Shit, Fitzpatrick, without looking, he's got to be like top 6 in the NFL quarterback rushing yards. Like, because that motherfucker's taking off whenever something's not there. I just think that with a more a quarterback that really delivers the ball to multiple receivers. We've seen Tua support 4 or 5 different pass catchers in an offense. I do think that is when I'll be able to definitively say that Williams is hot garbage or he's going to be a solid role player. I don't think he's ever going to develop into that number 1 wide receiver chair. And quite frankly, Ryan, I'm at the point now where I think Miami's going to take a wide receiver early in the draft next year. So now you're looking at depending on who they get, you're looking at a big unathletic slot receiver or a decoy on the outside type guy if they take a Jalen Waddle to pair with the Devontae Parker, right? The speed to go with him. On the show sheet, we have Isaiah Ford. I don't really have any thoughts. Like, I'm not starting him unless I have nobody. And they're going to draft a wide receiver early next year. They invested in Austin Jackson, the offensive lineman out of USC. They got their quarterback of the future. And if I had to make any bet, just like we all knew the Raiders were going to take Josh Jacobs a couple of years ago, and then we knew the Raiders were going to take a wide receiver, Miami with Houston Texans' generosity, they will end up with a Jamar Chase or Jalen Waddle early next year to pair with Tua. Therefore, Preston Williams, to Nate's point, and I am still I like Preston. I think we got to pour one out for him, man. I just don't see a world in where he's going to be what you and we weren't the only ones thought that he could be. I just don't see a world in which that happens.
On paper, man, this Miami offense, you get the up and coming, the hopeful. You're hopeful with Tua. You got Gesicki, who looks like a monster. He's a wideout playing tight end. You got Devontae Parker, who had finally happened. We're all happy. Everyone's happy for Devontae Parker. You got Preston Williams. To Nate's point, 2019 was dope. It was awesome. He was that guy. We were right to tweet about Preston Williams. And then obviously the unfortunate injury. We've said this for a lot of players so far that we've talked about. We've talked about a shitload of players, but the story is that we're a month into the season. We are right to get these takes off. Where everyone's right to have these opinions. We're right to start building these narratives. But at the same time, we are a quarter into the season. I hope that the next quarter, to Ray's point, perhaps Williams gains that confidence back. He gains that health back. He gains that step back. Whatever it is he's missing right now, that he finds that. But man, Nate's pretty right to run the thought experiment the way he is. Shit is not sweet right now, and it shouldn't surprise anybody if the Dolphins go out there and add a wide receiver or 2 in the early rounds just to kind of build around, again, their young quarterback, their young offense.
Ray, can I take it to a darker Miami Dolphins path than we've even gone to? No, this is different. So we all know that Lynn Bowden, right, is in Miami somehow, right? Like the Raider. I don't know what happened there, but how about this one? You know that Lynn Bowden is actually wearing Albert Wilson's number 15? Do you know that? That he got his jersey number? How the hell did that happen?
The Dolphins traded for him. They said they want to run him out of slot, period. That he's a wideout, period.
Yeah, he took number 15. So
Albert, they're getting
Wilson,
they're getting 2 wide receivers. They're loading up next year. Nate, you hit the nail on the head. We probably should have sold Preston Williams. So, okay, I'm not trying to hijack the show, but we're talking about these undrafted. We're talking about, and Chase Edmonds was drafted, but he comes from a small school. Preston Williams, Power 5 school, but undrafted. Does the same principle apply for James Robinson? And I know everyone's fucking talking about James Robinson, so I don't want to dive into it too long, but undrafted free agent who's not the best athlete on a team who most likely is going to turn over that coaching staff. Are you sure? Seasonal leagues, yes. If you're a contender, you ride James Robinson. But long term, I'm just throwing it out there to you guys. Are you buying James Robinson long term? Because to me, that seems, if you're saying yes, is that not pot calling the kettle black?
I am not saying yes. I actually just traded James Robinson in a league. I paired him in a 2022 first for Derrick Henry, tip of the cap. Feel great about that.
Love it.
I look at the James Robinson situation like Isaiah Crowell a couple years ago, right? This guy that ascended from an undrafted free agent. And Isaiah Crowell had an incredible career. I mean, considering coming from undrafted free agent to multiple starting seasons at the NFL level. I think that James Robinson is good enough in this offense. And we've seen what they've done with Minshew. He kind of got pulled up from a 6th-round pick, a later pick. So we're seeing late-round guys getting opportunities in an offense that's trying to figure out its identity. We know that this team is not good. Vegas had him as a 4-win, 5-win team. I think before the season started, Minshew looks like the future of this offense. And I don't know. I'm going to bet against the undrafted free agent every single time because what happens is they're not afforded the opportunity like a first-round guy is. Saquon Barkley could string 5 poor games together and start the 6th game. As an undrafted free agent, you put 4 bad games together, the next man up is getting opportunity, and just like that, you can be irrelevant. And that's always the concern about holding. It's the hot potato effect. Like you hold him too long and you get burned. And we are on the highest high with James Robinson. I think James Robinson, and correct me if I'm wrong, is he the RB? What is he this year? Is James Robinson the RB2 overall?
I think he's RB2. I believe he's RB2.
I thought he was RB2 overall too. Wow, we should really have our shit better.
Yeah,
he's number 6 right now coming out of last week, but he was number 2 overall.
Okay.
So either way, top 6 for an undrafted free agent. He's literally squeezed between Kamara, Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook, fucking Kareem Hunt, Chris Carter. Like
he's running so pure.
Yeah, like
right
how
now.
is he? He's at like a suit event, something where you'd wear like the nicest clothes, and he's wearing like a trash bag for a shirt and like a t-shirt for pants and like 2 like Sapporo wrappers on his feet for shoes.
What are we doing?
And you're like, what are you doing here? I think that eventually the music's going to stop on James Robinson when he plays more inefficiently because they just don't owe it to him. There's no allegiance to James Robinson.
None. And I think fantasy gamers get that so twisted that he's been so good for us, right? He's been so good for us, the fantasy gamer. NFL doesn't give a shit about any of that, man. I mean, the Rams literally would let Todd Gurley walk. Like we're done. Like we'll roll with Malcolm Brown over Todd Gurley. So I agree 100%. I just wanted because we talked a lot about these undrafted guys, these smaller school guys. So I just wanted to get your quick take on that.
No, you're good, man. This is where me and Matt Kelly always go at each other because he's the guy that always wants to look super deep down the hole and see if he can find that guy that's going to hit. And admittedly, it's good process. He's looking for the good because here's the deal. If you listen to Matt Kelly, you had this guy on your roster in the deepest of leagues. And when he became relevant, you made a lot of money. I just flipped him in a first to get Derrick Henry. So it's a smart process in that sense. But that guy is never going to necessarily hold on to that full-time job. And that's where that difference is. I just bet on the fact that there's no longevity there. But the truth of the matter is you want these guys because you want to mine that value, especially in Dynasty. And if you're in bigger leagues, you need to churn the bottom of that roster. You need to have relevant pieces. And James Robinson was like remember we were talking about Zigbo and we were talking about, why am I spacing the other name right now? Yeah, and Armstead, right? Like that was the only 2 names. And you heard a few people talking about James Robinson, but in that moment, he was free everywhere. And if you would have added him to your roster as a guy with a lot of upside as a good athlete and the college production, then boom, you just hit the lottery. And if you were hurting at running back, you just got a star for the first couple of weeks of the year. But the music will stop on him at some point, and you got to get out from underneath him. And that's at least my goal. Yep. So yeah, I'm always fighting the good fight against the small school.
And I'm going to say this for all of us. None of us are saying that he's playing bad. Nobody is saying that. Nobody. I think he's a pretty good running back. But there's no allegiance to him. You're right. He goes out there and fumbles twice, and Zigbo comes back and he has a good game. You bet your sweet ass that next week Zigbo is going to be carrying the ball some.
Yep.
So,
or what? Suddenly you see them send a 6th-round pick to Denver, and here comes Royce Freeman. I mean, like literally, dude, anything can happen, especially on these teams that are kind of stacked at the position. I got a lot of takes on where Royce Freeman's going to go, but we'll move on from that. Let's talk about a guy that was an ultra deep sleeper in Darnell Mooney. Man, what happened here? Like, where did this guy come from, Ray? And is he somebody that we should be keeping tabs on?
Hell yeah. I mean, last week, I believe his snap percentage was 46% to Anthony Miller's 43%. Air yards on those 9 targets was 123. Anthony Miller had 5 targets. The air yards on that were 42. You've got a better quarterback in there in Nick Foles. This guy, we all know that 40-yard dash time is not indicative of fantasy points, but he does have 4.3 wheels. He is a very good complement to Allen Robinson and what Allen Robinson does well. And if you go back again to the beat reporters over the summer, this kid was being talked about quite a bit. I was shocked at how much Mooney I had on my dynasty rosters and didn't even realize it because I just picked him up off of waivers for $0, right? And now I have him. Is he going to... it feels like Chicago's been looking for a number 2 receiver for fucking forever, right? And I'm telling you, we all watch a lot. I could not name the starting tight end of the Chicago Bears right now. I'm just going to take a stab and say it's Cole Kmet because they drafted him, but I really don't know who else is catching the ball there. Tariq Cohen is out, Cordero Patterson. Let's just stop with that. Like, just fucking stop, all right? It's just he's not going to be that guy. Why not Darnell Mooney? Like, give me a reason why he shouldn't. 9 targets last week. The air yards are there. He's got the speed. You've got Nick Foles there. Why not?
Yeah. I totally agree. And just for the record, somehow Jimmy Graham is the ageless wonder. He's got 3 touchdowns this year.
It is Jimmy Graham.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Nobody cares about Jimmy Graham. So you were right to just forget him anyways.
Skip over him completely.
But listen, so with Darnell Mooney, if you follow the breadcrumbs, the Darnell Mooney ascension was pretty obvious. Starts out the first week, 35.5% snap share. Next week, 67. Next week, 69 to 70. Boom, all of a sudden, 80% snap share plus 9 targets. And like you said, the air yards, this is a guy that was getting some buzz in the offseason. I literally just a week earlier, because I do this thing on Patreon where I try and write these dynasty buy articles, and I want to give people the curve or be ahead of the game, 1 week ahead of whatever I believe is going to happen. And Darnell Mooney was the guy I wrote up this week or just last week because I thought it's coming. It's obvious, right? It's in the cards. Like Allen Robinson's the guy. They're transitioning to Nick Foles at some point. This is the guy. So I wrote up another one, by the way, and I just finished it. And it is spicier than ever. I'm just letting you know, patreon.com/I'm outraged. It's even better than the Mooney one. But Darnell Mooney is going to be a fixture in Chicago. He's not going away. This is the speed that they needed. I don't believe he's going away anytime soon, especially with the way we've seen him playing. He just jumped an early draft capital wide receiver in the same offense, right? So I think there's a lot to like about him. Ryan, I think you might have been the one from the Breakout Finder account back in, April to tweet about Mooney. Was that you that sent that?
We were tweeting, bro. We were tweeting.
I think it was you, though. I think you're the one that tweeted Mooney from the Breakout Finder
I absolutely
account.
tweeted the Mooney picture. Yeah. The Mooney graphic or whatever. Yeah.
What's your take on Mooney? I mean, do you believe it's a long-term thing?
I think this Bears offense, man, there's so much that's in flux. We have, the quarterbacks changing chairs. We have, is it Foles? Are they going to look beyond Foles? Outside of Allen Robinson, man, I think Ray kind of alluded to it. We don't even know who the fuck, we don't care who the tight end is. Outside of Robinson, there are so many targets that are up for grabs that Mooney's profile, plays nicely into that. So, yeah, I think if you grabbed him late where he was going, you found yourself a little bit of a gem for sure.
I love it. All right, Ray, you put your own question on this show.
This is it, man. I'm excited for this one, man. Ray came in and said, I got my own question. Let's go.
I want you to take us out on this question right here, Ray. This is just you. This is you standing in front of the mirror. 8 Mile, you're backstage, you're about to go on stage, you've already thrown up in the toilet, you're about to go face Papa Doc.
I'm excited for it.
It's you versus you, Ray. You're the only person that can beat you. Give us this question. You got Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. Which guy do you prefer in Dynasty?
100% Brandon Ayuk. Woo! That is who I prefer in Dynasty. And I know that early on, his receiving numbers don't look like they're nothing to just brag about. I'm not victory lapping here. He's got 9 receptions, 109 yards. But when you watch him play and you watch how Kyle Shanahan, and I'm not here for the coach worship, but he does a great job of scheming his players open, right? And there was a play in the game on Sunday night where Ayuk takes that screen, that bubble screen, and I just knew. I said, he's about to get his ass tackled here. He's bouncing off of people. He's hurdling folks on the sideline. He's showing that balance. And that's what he did at Arizona State. He was a yard after the catch monster. And to Deebo Samuel's credit, he's the same thing. The dude is phenomenal after the catch. The problem with Deebo, and it was his problem his entire career at South Carolina, is he's always fucking hurt. Like he really does. I don't want to say injury prone, but he's got a pretty extensive injury history, right? He was hurt coming into the season. And Deebo Samuel took a reverse as well. He ran it around the other side of it. And he just doesn't have the same juice as Brandon Ayuk. It's just that and I know Ayuk, if you look at his combine time, I believe he only hit 4.5, but I was alerted by some people that he was nursing an injury during that combine. This dude is athletic. He's far more athletic than a N'Keal Harry. And if you're going to tell me, I see him in the same light as a Robert Woods. Like, they want to hand him the ball. They want to get him the ball in space. The offense will forever flow through the running game and George Kittle. But Kittle, they were showing replays where they were three guys were on Kittle, literally a safety, two linebackers, a cornerback. There's going to be opportunity for Brandon Ayuk. And while he is not Tyreek Hill level, there's nobody that's Tyreek Hill level, but he's got the skill set that he doesn't need to be funneled 12 targets a game to make a fantasy impact. It's really fun to watch him develop. I've got Brandon Ayuk. Y'all know I love me some Jalen Reagor. I believe I have more Brandon Ayuk on my dynasty teams than I do Jalen Reagor. The offensive situation, what he brings to the table, his speed, his athleticism, and the way that he's going to be utilized in that offense, I think we haven't even scratched the tip of the iceberg of what Brandon Ayuk could bring to the table. He is going to produce and perform earlier in his career like a Robert Woods. I really believe that's the type of Robert Woods, if Robert Woods was a tackle-breaking yak monster. And I think that play versus Philadelphia was just that's an example of the type of athlete and what he was bouncing off of fucking tackles on his way to the end zone. I think Deebo is a fantastic player. I think he's going to be good in that offense. But if I had to pick one of those two guys right now, give me Brandon Ayuk. Give me him.
Nate, man, I don't even know if I want to jump in off of that, man. That was again, he did what you asked him to do. That was Ray versus Ray, and he balled out.
Don't try to dunk after Vince Carter. It's just an embarrassment.
No, absolutely
Ray's just still got his arm in the rim. It's amazing. All right, Ray. Ray, man, you are every time a guest comes on, my mind is bent. But you are one of the more open, sort of thought-provoking people that we've had on this show, and it's always a good time talking to you, man. And you came on and delivered as expected. So I appreciate you coming on, man. This is your chance. We are now under the Roto Underworld Network, so we've got a lot of listeners out there, Ray. So please plug what you've got, because you are, again, one of the best Devy minds out there, as well as one of the best fantasy football analysts. So let the people know where they can find you.
I truly, my roots are in the college game, man. I think they go hand in hand. If you play Dynasty, then in my opinion, you Devy, because you're trading rookie picks, you're doing all that. So you might as well put a face to a name. And I always say that Dynasty is a game of chess, not checkers. And the more you know about the potential incoming prospects, the better you can position your team for short and long-term success. That's sort of my slogan, right? So if you want to check me out, more content to get a head start on your 2021 rookie drafts, 2022, 2023, patreon.com/allgas. Check me out over there. If you do sign up and do an annual membership, you save 10% off right then and there. You can follow me on Twitter at RayGQ, but I'm just telling you right now, I ain't answering none of your questions on Twitter. You can tweet all the questions you want. Ray, where do you have these guys ranked? It's so funny. Somebody asked me, I tweeted out a picture of like my top 2 running backs in the 2021 class from my rankings. And somebody said, where's Chuba Hubbard? And I said on patreon.com/allgas. That's where Chuba Hubbard is. But no,
that's the way to do it.
I'm out here solo dolo, one deep. I appreciate you guys, and I mean that sincerely. It ain't about like plugging all this up. Like, all that's fun and great. If you want to rock with me, I appreciate it. But the way that y'all handle your business. The product that you guys have built, like it's fantastic. Y'all are truly models and staples in this industry, and I really appreciate. A lot of people are always like, well, why can't you get on there more? Like, we can't do this shit every week. It diminishes the product, man.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll make it happen. Don't worry about it. But I just want to say thank you guys. Appreciate what y'all do, man, and thank you.
Listen, man, this is Nate. I think hit on it earlier this show. You certainly did, Ray. It's all about having fun, man. Nate and I have talked about that from the jump, and if it's just not fun, we're not going to do it. So I know him and I certainly have fun, and that's the biggest reason I fuck with you is because you are about fun and having fun, having a good time. We don't take this shit too seriously. You come on here, look at us, man. 2 hours deep or some shit talking about balls. That's what it's all about.
How long?
We are currently. Dude, we're sitting at 2 hours and 10 minutes. This will be the longest Breakout Finder podcast we've ever had.
God.
Yeah, but honestly, man, that's what it boils down to. You're just so comfortable with the company and just the topics at hand and just kicking back, man, and talking ball. It's what it's all about. I had a blast, man. Ray, whenever we get you on the show, bro, it is always a good time. Like Nate said, you come correct every single time. This is your second time up. I cannot wait for the third time, bro.
Ray,
yes, sir.
I just gotta say, the next time you come on this show, we're going to be fighting about Rondale Moore. I'm just letting you know now. So just get yourself ready because I'm prepping my takes bright and early. I'm ready to go.
No comment.
All right, man. I appreciate you coming on. We will be back next week, everybody.